what have we got here?
Hi, I didn't think you lads would turn up this year.
Everyone knows Cheltenham's our patch.
You've been punching above your weight for too long.
I've been saying that to him for years.
So the last time you had a winner here, you still had an economy.
And we were too busy trying to win a proper tournament. Yes, mate.
Give it up, lads. It's never coming home.
St Patrick was Welsh.
At least he wasn't English.
River dancers.
Queue lovers. Stew eaters.
Penalty chokers.
Potato munchers!
Go too far. It's embarrassing.
We're just having a bit of crack here.
Sorry.
Whoever you're backing this Cheltenham, get great offers on our app. Paddy Power, let's settle this.
Oh, you were looking a bit nervous back there.
Nervous. It's almost impossible for me to sweat.
Hello and welcome to our Cheltenham preview night, brought to you by Paddy Power, which is also my name. I have to put my glasses on now because I can't see anymore because I'm too old. And also by the Racing Post on RacingTV. I'm delighted to be joined on the bale of hay by Lydia Hislop, RacingTV broadcaster. We've got Ruby Walsh, the winning most ever jockey at Cheltenham, which will be forever, probably, ever be beaten.
I'm still laughing though.
Why?
I'm full sure we were sitting on straw.
Astrid looks hay straw. What's the difference? I'm from Dublin. Group 1 winning trainer, Tony Mullins. And of course, tipster extraordinaire and deputy editor of the Racing Post, David Jennings. So welcome along, everybody. Some of you may notice we are missing a certain Paddy Power trader, Mr. Frank Hickey. But rest assured, he'll be giving us a full festival preview from the horse's mouth later this week. And also on that podcast, we'll have daily tipping shows for the festival, from the festival, recorded after final declarations with Ruby and Rory Delargy as well, who is a proper good tipster too. Okay, so we're going to cover all 28 races this week. Next week. We're going to cover them today for next week, okay? If I can read this properly, in chronological order. So we have a couple of enhanced prices available for you too, so stay tuned to those. And before we do that though, I do have some housekeeping to do. So subscribe, first of all. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'll ask you to go and subscribe to the Paddy Power Racing YouTube channel. There's some great stuff on there and something massive to be landing next week. It'll be including our Cheltenham quiz show and a very special rewind show with Ruby Walsh and the one and only Rich Ritchie. That was a bit of crack, wasn't it?
That was a good laugh, yeah.
Then
I thought homework would be telling us where the fire exits were and things like that.
I know, but like it's only us. We don't really care. We don't really matter. We don't have a crowd here today, unfortunately.
There's nothing flammable around.
Nothing nothing flammable. What can possibly go wrong here? Our offer today, we have announced our big Cheltenham offer. We're giving you, your online customers, a free bet for each of the first 3 days of the festival. So a free bet on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of Cheltenham, which you can use on any race. The first of these will be available to claim this day next week. That's Monday the 13th, also known as Cheltenham Eve. The fan zones, if you're not going to the festival, and I don't know if you were lucky enough to be at one of them last year, on the Friday of Cheltenham, which is also St Patrick's Day, we'll be hosting some Cheltenham fan zones in Dublin, London and Galway. There's a few tickets still available, so get yourselves down there. It's brilliant crack, loads of special offers and a great day, a great way to watch the festival. And it's Paddy's Day, it's going to be hard to get into a boozer, so you may as well book yourself a seat in a fan zone. Finders Keepers, some viewers might remember a thing we've done before called Finders Keepers, where basically we just put loads of money into random people's accounts in cash, which the winner can then withdraw. Well, it's coming back next week on Monday and Tuesday. It'll be part of the Good Morning Cheltenham show, which DJ will be hosting, which you can watch on both the Paddy Power and Racing Post social channels at 8:30 a.m. every day. And we'll be dropping 150 grand across various accounts, so make sure you don't miss it. And responsible gambling, finally, and most importantly, if you are having a bet next week, or indeed any week, make sure you do it responsibly. Now, on with the show. We're going to try and keep it to under half an hour a day, because I know these things can drag on into the wee hours. And we'll also be taking some questions from viewers, so please do comment wherever you're watching, and we'll throw some of them to the panel. We'll kick off with day one on the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Whew. DJ, let's go to you first. What do you reckon about the Supreme this year? Facile Vega, do we forgive Facile Vega, Leopardstown?
Well, Ruby will be a better authority on that than me. I think at the prices you've got to take him on. He might well win and he might well be as good as previous winners of the race. Trying to visualise the race in my head, probably the value has gone out of the price now, 3-1. But Marine National to me is probably the fastest horse in the race. I think he's the one that will really travel through the race. Look, Michael O'Sullivan is an inexperienced jockey yet to ride Cheltenham Festival winner. I think he's top class though. Barry Connell has yet to train a Cheltenham Festival winner, even though he's owned one. But I just think visually in the Royal Bond, he was the one that poked your eye out the whole way. People are crabbing the form. I think that was a better Irish point to the one we saw at Leopardstown. The third horse obviously was Ashra Diamond. Champ Kiley was in there. I think the form is okay and I think he can step up again. At 3-1, he's not value, but I think he's the most likely winner, Marine National.
Well, the way it tends to happen, first race of the festival, is the bookies kind of cut each other's throats in the morning, don't they, and go mad trying to get people in.
He will be a bigger price. I know this is sponsored by Paddy Power, and those are Paddy Power prices at the moment, which are fantastic, Paddy, but he will be a bigger price on the day.
I'm not responsible for the pricing, thank God, says every shareholder of the company. But so is this a case of, if this was trained by Willie Mullins, Marine National would be shorter price?
No. I think the fact that we don't know how good he is yet, and Willie Mullins has the favourite in the race is the reason he's the price he is. He deserves to be at least that price, and I'm not saying he's value, but I do think he'll win.
Okay, so Marine National for DJ. Lydia, what do you make of this?
I'm interested in the tactics of it and how possible it is that High Definition might be left alone on the lead, bearing in mind, Ruby, that Willie Mullins was talking about Facile Vega and High Definition having cut each other's throats by doing that at the Dublin Racing Festival, whether everybody will be wanting to back off High Definition and he'll be able to control the race to some degree. Do you think there's something else that might go up there to take him on, like Diverge?
Yeah, maybe, something like that, but I'd want a better reason to back Marine National than he's the fastest horse in the race. I don't think the fastest horse ever wins the Supreme. I think a horse that really stays with a high cruising speed wins the Supreme, and that's probably borne out in how many Supreme winners actually win champion hurdles. It's so few, and there's so few compared to the Ballymore horses who don't go the same pace early and actually have to have a turn of foot to win to become champion hurdle winners. So to me, you want to be a stronger stayer. The Supreme, first race, first day, anticipation, noise, crowd, excitement. I rode enough of them. We always went too fast. They will go too fast.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you even, like, say your last ever Supreme, were you still like a little child?
You're still revved up,
yeah.
and that's where you get a stronger pace in the Supreme than you ever get in the Ballymore, because everyone's on edge.
But will Facile Vega, do you think, revert to the tactics of the bumpers?
I'd imagine there'll be a change of tactics on him.
Yeah.
And then you need something to go with High Definition. I'd be surprised if you don't find something if 70,000 people haven't gotten to one horse's head by the time it gets to the start in the Supreme that goes with High Definition. I'd be amazed.
I think Facile Vega's a bit. I think he'll shorten. Horses like Imperial Pass are going to go for the Ballymore, and I think that people will get behind Facile Vega for the reputation that he's had all season. It was a really substantial effort when he won over Christmas time. And I'm not convinced about Marine National. I just think that it was an overly strong pace in the Royal Bond, and he was the one that challenged last, and I think that was an advantage to him. The horse that I think is overpriced in this race is Rare Edition. He is the best of the British, I'm certain of that. His time stacked up comparatively against Constitution Hill, no less, on Boxing Day at Kempton. He returned with the Dirty Scope when beaten last time. He was beaten by a horse who actually ran better than the bare form in the Challow, and I think he's drifted out to something like 25-1, and each way I think he can definitely hit the frame.
Okay, Rare Edition. Let's go on to keep it with a notebook, Tony.
Well, I very stupidly nominated Facile Vega as the best horse I've ever seen. I actually,
again, another one.
I'm very sorry that I said that. Now, I mixed up youthful exuberance with actual, real champion ability. So he has a lot to do to redeem. I don't care if they went too fast. He just wasn't good enough in Leopardstown, and I think everyone is forgetting Illite Tom. The performance he gave, he sat in behind, he pulled out quick and then went away from them. To me, he's the one. Facile Vega, he's obviously a very good horse, but I'd say he has a lot to learn. And Leopardstown exposed him for me, and I think he's a bad favourite.
Okay, and funny enough, I was going to ask, I saw somewhere on Twitter, which so must be true, that it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle type of thing, because Facile Vega's been let go this time. Is it going to be harder to settle Facile Vega? Like, if you're riding Facile Vega, are you kind of going, that's grand, not worried about it, or are you kind of making sure you're back in the field at the start and all that?
No, but again, unless they go really hard, I know people say, well, Shishkin came from a long way back to win a Supreme, but they need to go really hard if you're going to come from a long way off the pace. I can't see them going that hard, so I think Facile Vega will be behind the pace, third, fourth, fifth, somewhere in around that area. But I think you put the genie back in the bottle, all right. I don't think the genie was out of the bottle, and I would be afraid to oppose him more than anything else.
Okay, so Facile Vega, Illite Tom, and Rare Edition.
No, I'm not Facile Vega.
Oh, you're Marine
National.
Jesus.
Although it's been ridiculed.
Sorry about that.
Marine National.
He's going for the fastest horse in the race.
The fastest horse in the race, yeah.
Which Ruby says is a schoolboy error. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's okay.
absolutely.
What would Ruby know
It's
about
not,
racing?
but if you wanted the fastest horse in the race, he's probably high definition.
I was about to say, yeah.
How many Supreme winners have you ridden? Well, actually, that doesn't work.
But I'm only,
Edit that one out quick.
but I'm only reading form here.
Yeah. Okay, on to my favourite race of the meeting, the Arkle. So that's next one up. I will start with you, Tony Mullins.
Yeah, I was hugely impressed with El Fabiolo in Leopardstown. He ran too free, he made a couple of serious mistakes, and he just kicked them out of the way as if, you know, it was a massive run. And his run in Aintree last year, before he became a man at all, shows that he's up to taking on John Bon. So for me, this could be one of the major bets, El Fabiolo.
Right, okay, well, that's very, very bullish. Lydia, you're sitting beside JP. They'd be confident enough. I was at a swanky dinner in London there last week, and one of these Cheltenham preview dinners, it was deadly, and I was sitting beside Nicky Henderson, and he was talking. He loves John Bon, like, you know, as you would, and why wouldn't you? But is it a massive step up? Like, I mean, was John Bon that good over hurdles, really? I know it was Constitution Hill he was behind, but
I think that he and Dysart Dynamo, you know, they set up the race for Constitution Hill, didn't they? I think the Supreme isn't a literal depiction of exactly how good John Bon was over hurdles. I know that El Fabiolo was less experienced than him when they met at Aintree. I know he was hampered 3 out, but I still think he got a chance and got to the front, and John Bon got past him. Clearly, the Kingmaker in the match was something of a setback in the John Bon story. But again, the Calico has gone out and won since and proved that he is an improved performer. And I quite like the way that John Bon actually learned to jump under pressure. He was going out quite a bit to his right. He just did right as well previously at Warwick, but not under pressure, not so markedly. I think he's got the beating of El Fabiolo. I think when it comes to it, his jumping under pressure will be better. I think El Fabiolo has still got the capability of being quite chancy at some. I'm interested in what happens with Dysart Dynamo.
Would you think that El Fabiolo's mistakes in Leopardstown were possibly because he was running free, so the real fast race is going to suit him better to jump?
Well, I mean, in terms of form, the Irish Arkle is the form race, isn't it? Because it was just set up to be such a strongly run race by Dysart Dynamo, and it just exposed every horse that wasn't good enough over 2 miles in that race, and El Fabiolo was the one that came out in front. I just think that at Cheltenham, I think there's a chance that he could get caught out quite seriously at one. I still think he's quite scrappy occasionally with his jumping. The interesting thing is Dysart Dynamo. You often mention, Ruby, it's a furlong shorter, isn't it, for the Arkle? He jumped really well in the Irish Arkle. Is it possible that John Bon and El Fabiolo are looking at each other, particularly if the rain doesn't come and it remains sort of slick conditions? I realise that's a big if now because obviously the rain is due. Could Dysart Dynamo get away?
No, I don't think he'll get away because I think both John Bon and El Fabiolo will be on his tail. I think getting a toe will suit John Bon, actually.
So do I.
He's had to make the run in all 3 starts of offences. I know he was upsides Monmoral first time, but I think something actually dragging him you'll see an improved John Bon because of that. El Fabiolo, as Tony said, is keen, or a little bit keen, so however fast Dysart Dynamo is going,
he won't be fast enough.
right behind him. Yeah. And the only thing where this could end up, what could happen here is with Dysart Dynamo, someone's going to be inside, someone's going to be outside. They could get racing from the top of the hill. And just when you look at the race, especially as we're still anti-post with 15 left in, there's not going to be that many runners. Like, does it suit for a horse to come from behind them at a bigger price to run into a place? I think it could. I think the 3 of those are going to go at it. One is definitely going to crack, possibly 2. And you never know, you don't need that much luck then to run into a good position. And I actually think it'll set up for St. Wright coming from behind each way to pick up a lot of the pieces. And who knows how many pieces he can pick up.
Is there any danger that St. Roy will go for the Grand Annual? No?
Oh, sure, there probably is. But unfortunately,
that's what I thought.
Non-runner, no bet, isn't it?
Non-runner, no bet, yes, here.
At this point, that's interesting because there's only 4 real players. We've just mentioned them. And then how many do you think are going to run? About 7 in the end? Something like that?
So you're each way, first 3, non-runner, no bet. I think something coming to pick up the pieces if these go at each other.
He's turned into a shrewdy punter, hasn't he?
He has.
What about you, DJ?
I listened to Rory Delargy and Frank Hickey quite a bit.
I've made an absolute idiot of myself in this race again, yeah, for numerous occasions. Look, I did a column back in December saying I thought John Bon was the worst price anti-post favourite I've ever seen at Cheltenham Festival, when I think he was around 6-4, 11-8. And a week before the Arkle, I'm now starting to fancy John Bon for the Arkle. I thought Appreciate was going to be your or Willie's Arkle horse. I really did. I thought he was the real deal. Like, I thought he was going to be the one that was going to go off potentially odds on at Cheltenham, and I was hoping he would do his business in the Irish Arkle. He didn't. El Fabiolo won it. If it was a 2 mile flat race, I'd have no doubt that El Fabiolo would beat John Bon. But I'm with Lydia here. I think under pressure, when it really matters, I think you can really count on John Bon to come up every time. I'm not sure you can count on El Fabiolo. Maybe you can, but
that's where I'm saying that because he is so free, that I don't think he's going to be under pressure.
El
He'll
Fabiolo,
be flying, but he won't be under pressure.
But I think John Bon is a safer jumper than El Fabiolo at this stage, and I think, like Lydia, I think he would have learnt a lot from Warwick. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I fancy John Bon.
Talking yourself out of it. So John Bon, El Fabiolo, Saint-Moi.
Each way.
And John Bon. Okay, so John Bon. And I forgot to say, actually, from the Supreme, we do have an enhanced price on Facile Vega, 3-1 from 9-4. The trader's going to hold on to it as long as you can. Lydia says it's going to shorten up. We're going to move on to the Ultima. Ruby, you've got a pass for this one. This is what we're doing today. We're not getting token selections from our panel. If there's a race where they don't fancy something, they're just skipping it. Okay, but the other three aren't skipping it. DJ, Ultima?
Yeah, I've backed Happy Go Lucky. Second in the race 2 years ago off 147. Like, he traded a really short and run. I couldn't believe he didn't go by 2 years ago. He went to Aintree and won off 149, bolted up. He's had a year off, and then he came back, and I thought he ran a cracker in the rehearsal behind Long Press. Then he ran over 2.5 miles at Cheltenham on New Year's Day. He's not a 2.5 miler. I think he's a big player in the Grand National, Paddy. And I think 152 for a horse like him who's unexposed. You might think, you hear Happy Go Lucky and you say, God, I've heard that name so many times. He must be about 10 or 11. He's unexposed over fences still, I think, over these type of trips. And yeah, I backed him at 20-1. I think he's a big player.
And does he have to win this to have a chance in the National, or just a good run?
Yeah, if he ran well, you'd be happy enough going into the National. I think he's a good horse, and I think Kim Bailey thinks he's a good horse, and Kim Bailey likes to target one at the Ultima. Yeah, I think he's a player here.
Okay, Tony?
I don't really have any opinion on them. You know, they're just, I don't have enough collateral for them to.
That's fine. No, we don't want token. We want proper fancies. Lydia?
We have a unanimous view. I really like the rehearsal chase form. I like both of them. I prefer Happy Go Lucky of the two. He was coming back from a really long break, almost 2 years at the time, and he went with L'Impresse for longer than Into Overdrive was able to do, and then he fell away. Like David, I agree that the trip last time was wrong for him. He's got that Cheltenham form previously from when he was a novice. I think he's a big price. He's back 12-1, isn't he? I think he will win, but I expect Into Overdrive, who's improved since and won the Round of Merrick, I still think he will be a threat and staying on strongly at the end. I mean, I know he's towards the top of the market, but for me, those are the two. That is the dominant form in the race.
Oh, I'm happy now.
Happy Go Lucky. You're happy, yeah. Right, moving on to the highlight of day one, which is the Champion Hurdle. Often very competitive race, maybe not so much this year. Constitution Hill looks a penalty kick, I'm guessing. Tony? Well, would you say Constitution Hill might be a better horse than Facile Vega? I'm not sure.
Nobody has tested him yet.
It's all right.
I'm not afraid to have an opinion anyway, but
absolutely.
As State Man, I was very impressed with him in Leopardstown. He jumped out, did it all in a proper run race and quickened away from them. I didn't think he would. I thought Vauban might give him a run for it, but State Man is a formidable opponent, and for me, nothing else counts, even within 20 lengths.
Really?
Yeah. There's no place or anything. There's just these two are going to be.
And you think Statement has a squeak like?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the one thing about Constitution Hill now, if you want to be positive, you say nothing is able to get him off the bridle. But if you want to be negative, he's never been taken off the bridle, so we don't know what he can do when he's asked. You know, like Facile Vega looked unbeatable until he was taken on early, and then he fell in a hole in Leopardstown. Maybe Constitution Hill. Now, he looks unreal, but State Man is tough. I was very impressed in Leopardstown.
Ruby, if you're riding State Man, like, are you? What are you going to do? Like, tactically, you can't be afraid of one horse, even though you probably should be afraid.
No, but you still have to wonder.
But you have to make sure that you don't finish last, because you try and win the race and then fall away or whatever.
Yeah, but I think if you're going out there on the second favourite on State Man, you're not thinking about anything else other than winning. So you're not riding. I know you're supposed to ride to achieve your best possible finishing position, which is technically the rule, but you're not going out trying to rob third on him or sneak second if you can. You're going out to try and pull it up the Constitution Hill, and if that means you finish fourth or fifth, so be it. But you might as well go down trying as go down thinking, if only I did X, Y, or Z. So you're going out in a positive frame of mind on him. But I think it's more tactically key here as to what Nico does. To me, he holds the aces here. So what does he do? And you know, I would much prefer the pressure of riding Constitution Hill than to be trying to figure out how I was going to beat him on statement.
Yeah. Funny you said, I've heard you talk about Nico as well. You said he's pretty straightforward, just
He will not
cool as a
complicate
cucumber.
this.
Just
He will, like, he's ridden 3 or 4 pretty short priced favourites at Cheltenham most of them have gone and won. I think one of them might have gotten beaten. Yeah, Shishkin last year was stood as well. He was beaten before he started looking at him. But you know, he'll keep it so straightforward, and I wouldn't be surprised if he made a run. If I was riding Constitution Hill, I would. Book out and go. If something wants to take me on and go faster, happy days. But I wouldn't be letting it get tactical or messy. And I think he holds the aces to this race.
Does he win?
He does win,
yeah. Okay. DJ?
Oh yeah, he'll win. Yeah, sure. He's exceptional. I'm interested in Ruby's views on Vauban because obviously I think Constitution Hill will win. I think probably Statement will be second. But I've thought for the last few weeks that Vauban I thought he definitely finished third at worst. Do you know what I mean? That kind of a thing.
Yeah, I was probably one of the few people, David, that gets hung up every year on what the Triumph horse is going to do the following year. I don't expect them to do anything. No matter how good they look in the Triumph, I'm just the one person that thinks, well, hang on now, a Triumph horse or a 5-year-old wins the champion hurdle once every 9 years, 10 years, whatever.
But he doesn't have to do a lot to finish third, like. Do you know what I mean?
He
has
does.
to be. I like to move it.
Yeah, but I tell you, I thought I like to move it. I would prefer him at 14s after watching the racing in Canton.
Absolutely.
And
that was a hell of a performance.
It was.
A lot of people are fancying I like to move it to run a big race here. Even my 2 colleagues in the race post, Tom Siegel and Paul Keeley, they are all over. I like to move it to finish second even.
Well, he could, but now the only thing is is likely to be the one that will go forward with Constitution Hill. So he's going to be ridden on the pace. That's the way he likes to do it. He's a good winner of the Greatwood. I think at 14 to 1.
Is Vauban not a more talented horse than I like to move it though? No.
What has Vauban done?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent Triumph hurdle last year. I think the second and third are okay.
Is there any chance that Echoes in Rain wins in this?
I would think unless something happens
There's
to
no
either.
chance even if he does.
But she's the kind of horse that could place.
I think, but who wants to be placed? So like Constitution Hill, Statement, I think once both of those get to next Sunday and are both declared, I can see Epitante, Echoes in Rain, Honeysuckle, all of them. We know Honeysuckle is anyway, but I can see a lot of those just dropping out and going at the mare's hurdle, but they all think we could have a chance.
It's just that Echoes in Rain, I think, will have a best chance in a strongly run 2 mile as opposed to a 2.5 mile race. And I just think that this race could set up for her to even finish second.
Possibly, but I think she's a chance of winning the mare's hurdle. Would be my way of looking at it.
Okay, fine.
So Lydia, Constitution Hill?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the best hurdler I've seen. I'm not given to sort of statements like that. The last good hurdler that I've seen in the flesh was Isterbrack. Obviously, he's an extraordinary horse. The idea that I would be saying that I thought a horse would be vying with that level of form would be extraordinary to me. But after the Supreme, we saw that, and then he backed up in the Fighting Fifth, and then he backed it up in the Christmas Hurdle. These are performances that we can measure on the clock and sectionally, and we know that they are out of this world. And you know, Stateman would win most champion hurdles, but we know that the quality of his form compared to Constitution Hill's form just does not stack up. And yeah, I think Constitution Hill will be ridden straightforward. I think he is straightforward. The only thing that gets him beaten is some mishap or other. And I do, or some mishap. I'd like to move it is overpriced. Okay. I think he comes here with, would it be the second? Probably vying for the second best form in the race, because I thought that run last time in Wincanton was really strong, and the Great Wood win was really strong as well. But the Achilles heel is how his best form comes out, because he needs to go forward. You saw that when he was patiently ridden in the Railkeel, he wasn't the same kind of horse.
Okay, Tony, from a trainer's perspective, if you had a horse that was, I don't know, say, I don't know, a 20 for 1 shot in this, or 33 to 1 shot in this, Love Envoy, or whatever, something like that, would you be try and duck the race because you feel like you can't win, or would you say, look, we've got to take our chances, who knows, your man might fall or something might go wrong?
No, well, I mean, you have to decide months out whether you're going to try and train for this race. You know, you can't just decide in the last minute and say, oh yeah, right, we're suddenly...
Well, he does.
He doesn't. He has his mind made up well before, so he has, and leaves his options open. But I mean, he's training, we'll say, for that 4 days anyway.
Oh, I know that.
So you cannot decide in the last 7 days about upping a horse's fitness and that. So he has to be prepared, you know, over a course of time to hit a peak on that week. So whether he goes for the race on the first day or the third day, that's not a big change. But you can't just decide we're going to Aintree, and suddenly at the last minute when the favourite goes
no,
out,
I get that.
say we're going to Cheltenham. You know, it doesn't work like that. You've got to prepare a horse from 10 to 12 weeks out if you're going to try and peak him for a particular day. So you can't be hopping and you know, you can change into a different race, but you can't change your dates.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Right, so Constitution Hill will probably win, except State Man might. And I like to move it is the each way selection in the race, maybe from the panel, I'd say. I'd have to mention Vauban, but like, sure, he's telling you, he's putting you off it.
Everybody has been putting me off Vauban. I'm not saying I don't think he'll win or finish second, but I think you're getting a decent price about him finishing in the frame.
Stop digging.
I think he's a better horse than I like to move it.
Stop digging.
digging.
Right,
Sorry, I'm deep in that hole.
You'd normally expect to be like glossing over the Mayor's Hurdle, flying through, but actually it looks like it's an absolute cracker this year, the Mayor's Hurdle, doesn't it? So I don't know, like Ruby said it there, presuming the two favourites get to the start line.
I think like you will have Honeysuckle. I think Maria's Rock, it reads very much like she's going to run in the World Hurdle. I expect Epiton to be supplemented tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, can't
Tomorrow
remember
or
when,
Wednesday,
but
one or the other. I expect her to
yeah.
be supplemented. Then you have Brandy Love, Echoes and Lane, Love Envoy, Queensbrook, she wears it well. I think it's a deep race, Paddy. Yeah. I honestly don't think any of the horses I just named can win any other race at the festival. I think this is the right race for all of them. Yeah. I think they'll be competitive, and that's just the way I view it. I see it as still see it from a point of view of a rider. Where can you run a horse to ride a horse that will win the race? I don't see Honeysuckle or Epiton adding to the champion hurdle. They'll be on their heels.
To the champion hurdle.
They'll add to the anticipation. Are they going to add to the race? Could you see either rounding off the bend and getting into the fight with Constitution Hill and State Man? I don't. I think they could round off the bend here.
You could see a four horse over
I
the
could
last
just see you turning off the bend here thinking, what's going to happen here? I think they do add to this. That's just the way I see it, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. I do think Honeysuckle has slightly regressed. I think there was a result that I would love to see. It's Honeysuckle winning. But the way I actually think we're going to see it, I probably don't.
It's kind of the wrong year to drop back to the Mares, isn't it, for an easier touch?
Yes.
When you're on the downgrade. Look, she's been amazing and been incredible, and she would be the fairy tale. And I will cheer her from the bottom of the hill to the top. But I don't think I'm going to get there. And I think Brandy Love will improve a lot for Punchestown. And I think Echoes and Rain coming from off the pace. I think Paul Townend has a big decision to make there. There's not much to split, and they're both big runners.
So whichever one Townend chooses, or the one he doesn't choose, is better value.
He's probably a better judge of picking them than me, so maybe you could go with that one.
Okay, yeah. So that's Echoes and Rain and Brandy Love, yeah?
Yeah, I think they're two
Tony,
runners.
any mad views
Yeah,
on this?
I dearly love to see Honeysuckle winning. It'd be brilliant. You know, she's been a brilliant mare that got a trouncing for being beaten in the Hatton's Grace. And I mean, I thought that she ran quite well. Then she came out in the Irish Champion and very solid run. So I'd agree with Ruby that she's slightly regressed. But that's not to take away from her. She's a great mare. I'd love to see her win it. Mary's Rock is very good. Brandy Love, Echoes and Rain, Queensbrook second in it last year. I mean, it's a fantastic race that I'd love to see Honeysuckle winning, and I don't think I'd be punted because I think there's 6 horses here, any of the 6, including Epiton as well. You know, there's a couple of former champion hurdle winners. It's a fantastic race that I'd love to see Honeysuckle winning, but I won't be having a bet because I think that it's a very tight race. I could actually see, could you see 4 or 5 of them coming, when they straighten up, 4 or 5 of them in a line?
That's what I can see.
Yeah.
I can see this developing into a
fantastic race.
As they round off the bend. Whereas people are saying, oh, they should be in the champion. I don't see them getting off the bend in the champion hurdle. You're thinking, oh, will they?
Yeah.
I think they will in this race, and I think it'll be a cracker.
Is it just opinion, Lydia, or is there a way to kind of analyse this? Like, you know, Epitante and Honeysuckle, both probably not as good as they were at their peak, but both would be, like, you know, at their peak would be winning this race. But like, is it hard to actually put a number on how much they've regressed or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I think Honeysuckle definitively isn't as good as she was. I think you could see that in the Hatton's Grace. Whilst, you know, on paper it was in the same realm as some of her lesser Hatton Graces. I think that that sort of verve wasn't there as she rounded the home turn, and I am sort of a little bit concerned about whether she has regressed quicker than Epiton. With Epiton, it's hard to say because she's been kicked out of the way twice by Constitution Hill, and then she monstered some horses who were just not in her league. I think her jumping is very slick this season, and my instinct is that she has retained her form more than Honeysuckle. And And I also think that she put up a career best performance when winning the entry hurdle over 2.5 miles at the end of last season, and I think she could conceivably build on that. So that's where I'm going. I do think it's the most competitive edition of this race that we've yet seen.
Epatante. Echoes and Rain or Brandy Love. Take a pass. That's okay. No, the 100 over. Yeah. That's totally fair enough. DJ.
I'm a big Brandy Love fan.
Right.
And
Brandy.
Yeah. I'm very much of the opinion that the vibes beforehand were very poor about Brandy Love going to Punchestown. Like, it takes a lot for a horse to be 1-2 the night before and go off 7-4 in a race like that where only 2 horses could really win the race. All the money was for Queensbrook. She still traded at 1.14 and running. She still looked like the old Brandy Love. I would have been more disappointed if, she didn't travel through the race and then she stayed on a little bit and you say, oh, that's not the Brandy Love from last year. Like, what she did at Fairyhouse last year, going the wrong way around, I thought was exceptional, beating Love Envoy the way she did. She's the one horse in the race that I think still could be on the way to becoming a superstar, whereas the others are probably on the way back from being superstars. To go 10-1 after that Punchestown race, I thought was a complete overreaction. I'd be shocked if Paul Townend doesn't ride her, and I think she's a massive player. Okay, Brandy Love, lovely. The Boodles is next. Tony, you have something on this one, I believe?
Yeah, well, no, I have an interesting fact in this one. The horse that's not on the list of betting here.
Oh, that sounds good.
So it's a horse by the name of Bad. So Bad is good.
Bad is good.
So Bad is a horse that has earned his rating in France, and Ben Pauling has bought him. And I heard he worked very well in Kempton last week. And this is the thing where, if Ruby might remember, Gaelic Warrior last year got a French rating and got in. Now, I don't quite understand how this is done or calculated, but Bad is rated 138 on equivalent in France. And he's running off 126, is it, or 128?
26.
126. He's 12 pounds in hands. Now, Gaelic Warrior did it last year, and unfortunately he got beat. But the other horse there that Skelton's bought out of France as well, Punta de Least, he was third in the Victor Ladorum, so he got his rating off the Victor Ladorum, but again, on his couple of runs in France, he should be about 136, and he's running off 128. So this is something that I don't understand yet. I haven't quite worked it out, but the horses coming from France are getting a much lighter rating.
I think from talking to the handicappers last week, so basically what they assured us anyway was that they assessed all the Irish horses individually, irrespective of their Irish marks, and therefore you assume if you're doing that with Irish racing, Lydia, but I am only assuming now, and it's time to be corrected, that they take the same opinion in France.
I've been told that before, yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
So it's irrespective of their marks, the English handicappers, and it's their jurisdiction, their racing, and they put their own opinion to a horse's race.
Isn't it lovely then?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can find a nice horse in France, here we are with a horse that I reckon is 12 pounds in light.
Yeah.
And Punta de Least is also in that category, I think only about 8 pounds right. Yeah. But Bad, for me, is the man that found Princess Zoe. For me, he's
now we're getting the real truth. Go on about the handicap, and now we're getting the real truth. A, how do you know about the working head? And
we
B,
should pause it there.
who put it on the radar?
Tell the horse.
So he recommended him. Of course, I hadn't got the money to buy him, but he recommended him.
You could have told us this before he went on air, you know.
And he has to acclimatise as well.
Yeah.
He's only come from France, I think, since the 1st of February. So that's a hard thing to do. But Punta de Least did the same thing to be third in the Victor Ladorum. So I think they're two horses in quite an open race. Tom's horse has a chance.
Yeah.
Morning Soldier jumped his way to the front in Nace a bit soon. I'd say if Danny had it again, he'd ride different, and hopefully that'll happen in Cheltenham for him. So I'd love to see Morning Soldier winning for Danny and Tom. But these two French horses, to me, they have this difference of rating that I don't understand yet, but they definitely are in at a different rating than they should be.
Bad is good.
Bad is good.
Bad is good. Anybody anything to add to that? Or are we happy with bad is good?
I think McTighe to me is not the one I fancy, but he's key to the race, whether he runs or not.
Yeah.
And the weights stay where they are. McTighe comes out and the weights start to rise. To me, it affects then the chances of every other horse, especially with 4-year-olds, what they're actually carrying has as much to do with their ratings. So for me, I'll reserve judgment until I see the declarations.
Two at massive price I thought that could run well. Metamorpheus for Paul Nolan.
Yeah.
He jumped really well at Naas. He finished 4th in that race that the Boodles winners come out of for the last 5 years. I think the race will suit him because they'll go fast and he'll be staying on. He's really unexposed. He got out with Tim Doyle's. And the other one is Affadil of Paul Nichols, who has a terrific record in the race. I wouldn't read too much into his run the last day. Needed to run to qualify for the Boodles. You'll see a different Affadil.
Is that one of those twinkle in the eyes? I wouldn't read too much into his run the last day.
It's all there for you.
Well, he told me not to.
But it's also all there for you, isn't it? It was a really quick reappearance
Yes.
after the win at Musselburgh, which he did quite tidily, I thought, and clearly had learnt quite a bit from first to second start over hurdles. I really like Affadil. I think he's interesting. Also interesting what Cougar can do. But at the moment, they're just kind of my working titles because a bit like Ruby, this is one of the races that I actually want to see the decks.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm thinking at the moment.
Okay, so at the moment we're talking about bad, that fan, what's the other French show called?
Punta del Este.
Punta de Leste, Metamorpheus, Affadil, and keep an eye on the decks.
Yeah, but to me, Takao or Takeo at 11.5 has a big chance. Takeo carrying 11.10 has a less chance. So, you know what I mean? What McTighe does to me is
massive.
massive.
If McTighe runs, I'd say Takao will go off 5-2.
Okay.
It'd be surprising if he'll run though, would it, on his Kelso run?
I'd say to let him run. I think he'll run.
Right, National Chase. Any views?
Look, Gaillard may need a short price favourite. Is there one question mark about him? It possibly could be stamina. He was travelling best turning in last year's Irish Grand National. Now he had a lot of weight and he did make a mistake at the second last, but it's hard to say he finished as strong as he looked he was going to turning in. That's the only slight question mark. He had a lot of weight and he did make a mistake. But to me, if he stays, he wins.
But stamina is, I know, it sounds like a stupid question, probably is a stupid question. Is it that important in this race, or is it below, sorry, they're not going as fast? Do you know what I mean?
It'll be, look, there's obviously a smaller field than there used to be, etc., etc. But I still think at 3 miles and 6 furlongs, you have to stay regardless.
Okay. It was a stupid question. I could see it with a smirk in your face.
I didn't say that, Paddy.
You were thinking it. You were thinking it. I kind of knew as it was coming out, DJ.
Yeah, of all the short prices, he's the one that I'd be very much thinking is probably a little bit of value. I just think his form is exceptional compared to the rest of them. Third in the Ballymore, third in a really good Brown Advisory. He travelled beautifully and jumped beautifully in the Irish National. The stamina is the one little bit, just that maybe last kind of 2 furlongs, but I think he'll be fine. I don't think he'll come off the bridle.
Okay, Tony?
I'd say a good favourite here. I think he'll win. And there's nothing, I don't. Ramalais is, obviously he's second favourite, but I think the favourite is quite clear cut here.
Ruby?
I'd be surprised if the two of them ran the one race, to tell you the truth. Thurston Warrior definitely runs, Smaller Mission, Chemical Energy, the next 3 after him run. But that also brings City Chief into the equation. Ramalais City Chief, Gaillard and Mesnil, all the same owner. But I'd be surprised if maybe 2, but I'd be shocked if the 3 of them lined up.
So you'd think Ramalais might defect?
I think Ramalais might defect, yeah.
Any cold water to
I'm
pour
increasingly coming around to Marla Mission, and initially I had to be persuaded to that, but I think maybe I didn't have enough use of him made last time against Stone Warrior, and I like the way he jumps with a positive ride. I'm also not completely inclined to dismiss Chemical Energy. I think it does pivot on how much rain Cheltenham get. I know from having it been very sort of arid and Sahara-like now, we've got loads of rain potentially falling between now and the start of the festival.
Depending on which weather app you look at.
Exactly. If a lot of rain were to fall, I'd be less inclined to be interested. I think he just completely got stuck in the mud in Naas last time. So I'm sort of warily watching Chemical Energy, but yeah, I'm increasingly liking Marla Mission.
Okay, so Gaillard Domainel pretty strong from the 3 lads, and Marla Mission there for Lydia. So that's Tuesday. We just need the nap of the day for Tuesday. DJ.
I'll go Brandy Love.
Brandy Love. Okay, lovely. Tony?
Well, wait now. I'll go bad each way.
Oh, like a bad each
bad
way.
each way
Yeah. Bucky's loving to hear that. The bad each way, yeah.
A bad each way.
Ruby?
In the Boodles.
I'd find it very hard to go against obviously Constitutional.
I was going to say, wow,
Who else
put your
knew?
neck on the block there.
I am getting all out there. I still find it hard to go against Facile Vega.
Okay, Facile Vega and Lydia.
Happy go lucky.
Happy go lucky. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to take the shortest of short breaks. We'll be back for day 2 right after this.
So got out around that and off the bend. I'm going to chase my hands on her here.
And anything goes through your mind last hurdle, because the commentator even said, "Oh, down to the last this time."
It's funny when you're watching racing, and I've saw that since I stopped riding. Everything takes much longer. When you're on her back, this is happening so quick compared to this watching on television.
Roar after that.
But again, it was just the opposite from the year before. It was quite silent coming to the last.
Yeah.
You know, it all got quiet, and when she jumped, didn't take a breath. Then it went. I remember being interviewed after the race by Claire Balding. I was bawling my eyes out. It was so exciting. But sport is about redemption, isn't it? And it was a brilliant contrast to the year before. And that's what's great about sport. You know, it is that chance for redemption.
Welcome back. That clip we just saw there is from our Rewind show with Rich Ritchie. That was him in the sunglasses inside. It's coming soon to the Paddy Power Racing YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe now. It was deadly. It was really good fun, Ruby, wasn't it?
It was a bit of a laugh, all right.
Yeah. Do you enjoy that now, the bit of reflection, when now that you're old enough to...
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah, some of it.
Some of it doesn't ever get easy to watch, but yeah.
Oh, that's good. No, it's good. A good old day. I enjoyed that. We have a viewer question before we kick off day 2, and this is for you, Ruby. It's a question from Shane Healy. Am I right in thinking the course for the Champion Chase is different to what the rescheduled Clarence House Chase was held on? And if so, what impact could this have?
You are right, Shane. The old course in Cheltenham is used in October and November, and then Cheltenham moves to the new course in December, January, New Year's Day and Trials Day. The new course is Thursday and Friday at the festival. The old course is Tuesday and Wednesday. So yeah, they're two totally different tracks. It'll be a much faster race. It'll just be a faster race. It's a sharper track, and it'll just be a faster race. But what impact it'll have, probably need to ride horses closer to the pace. But you'd imagine after the Clarence House, both Ennergamine and Edwardstone are going to pay more attention to Editor de Geet anyway.
Yeah, okay. And DJ, a question for you as well. This one's from Tommy, who asked DJ how he's found it working with Johnny Deneen and Up in the Ante. You've been asked this about 300 times, haven't you?
Yeah, Johnny has a cult following now. He is a remarkable man. He is a proper punter, which I think people love, and he's so honest. Like, I could rock in there on a Tuesday morning and I'd say to Johnny, how was your week? Desperate day, yes, desperate, cutting back a winner. And you know, usually punters care about their reputation so much that they really don't tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Johnny just ask him anything and he'll tell you the answer. He's ridiculously honest, lovely guy, and a great find for us.
Great, well done. Okay, right. Day 2, we better get back to the action. The Ballymore Novice Hurdle is the first race. Tony, I'll kick it off with you.
Yeah, well, Hermes Allen won the Shallow very well, so he's obviously the best horse in England. You know, his form is good. You know, he's dominant. And Pertemps, my information from Willie's is this is an airplane and he's improving all the time. So it's going to be a massive Ireland versus England to start off the day.
Does Willie actually say that, or are you
no,
words
no,
what he says?
Not at all. I'm out of Willie's yard, I said.
Yeah,
and the others.
Can you imagine when he's like that? I can't.
It's an airplane.
No, the only time that I think ever Willie said to me a horse was an airplane was Duvan when he was at his height.
Okay.
That's the only time he ever said, I can't get to the bottom of this lad.
Yeah.
And unfortunately then it didn't work out with a few things, but he thought he was an absolute airplane. Yeah. But anyway, we're back to this. It's just going to be an Ireland versus England here. Then you have Goodland as a solid horse, Gaelic Warrior. Danny fancies Cham Kiley, you know. He thinks that he'll jump out, make the running, and I said, like, you know, they're going to take you on. He says, the more they take me on, the better, he says.
Okay.
He thinks that, you know, they're running the Lawlers in Naas, the grade 1 there, that he was able to control the race from the front. And I said, you were flying. Yeah, he says, and I could control it no matter what speed they were going. Now, I don't know whether the form is fully solid in that race, but he told me beforehand he'd win, and he did win.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's very confident that he'll give these a good go, and he'll be out there in front, or he intends to make the running anyway. And
Tony Mullins fiver?
Yeah, I'd say so. I hope that'll be the first of many winners for Danny at Cheltenham.
Okay, great. So Cham Kiley each way.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
thought you were going all in on Imperi Pass there at the start of that.
No, well, no, I'm saying that the Willie Mullins camp are all going Imperi Pass, and Danny won't hear of it anyway. He thinks that he's as good on Champ Kiley.
Okay, great. Lydia, is Hermes Allen good enough?
I think he's got good form. The Challow was a much stronger race than it is usually. People like to knock the Challow in terms of what winners go on and manage to do at the festival, but because there was a deletion of a race at Cheltenham nearby, it meant there was a bigger field, a deeper field. It was a much stronger race, and it's depending on how you look at it, depending on which bits of form you pick, it's working out well. I think there was some track biases on acting on the day, so that might allow for the different outcomes of form. I think he's a good horse. I think he can be ridden in lots of different ways, but I just like Imperi Pass. It's always difficult. I tipped Imperi Pass a while back in my Road to Cheltenham column, and it's always difficult with tipping a Willie Mullins horse because you then have to come into the studio and sort of look at Ruby and, and sort of try and work out what the reaction is when you confess that you have done this. And I got a fairly positive reaction, so I was encouraged by that. So I'm going to stick with Imperi Pass. I think he could be very, very good. I think he's got gears. I think he'll have. He's the perfect type for the Ballymore. The horse I think that could run well at a price if he runs in this is In the Pocket. I think stepping up in trip, he could hit the frame.
Okay, before we get the definitive answer from Ruby, DJ?
Yeah, I'm sick, Paddy. A bit like Lydia, on Up in the Ante, which you mentioned, I wanted to really get a winner in quite early in the series, so I was like, right, I'm just going to go for a real safe option, and I was blown away by Hermes Allen in the Challow. I thought it was an exceptional performance, and even I thought it was more depth to it. The likes of Joyo Mishan went over and was pulled up, and I thought it was a good race, and I thought he was brilliant. And he's a different type of horse to Brave Man's Game. He's not as big, and he might just be a now horse rather than a later horse. But this is not my first preview night, Paddy, as you might well know. And if there's one horse on the circuit that the proper judges, now I mean the proper ones, and you're going to come to one in a minute, they cannot contemplate defeat for Imperi Pass. Now I mean, you know, David Casey, different people along the road would be very, very surprised if Hermes Allen beat Imperi Pass. So I'm interested to see what Ruby says. I would like for my own show for Hermes Allen to win, but at the moment, from what I'm hearing, if I'm to believe my ears, Imperi Pass will be winning the Ballymore.
Okay, I'd just like to apologise to Tony and Lydia for DJ calling you not proper
Oh
judges.
no, we all spotted it. We all spotted it.
We were going to dance over it.
I just highlighted it there, yeah.
And
okay,
I even tipped the horse he was talking about,
I know,
and I'm still not a proper judge.
I'd just like to apologise for that slip of the tongue.
He was building up the tabloid journalism. He was building up for all the hype there. Completely forgot where he was going and overlooked Tony and Lydia. It was so tabloid. It was brilliant.
Sorry.
Hermes Allen, yeah, it is rock solid form. And obviously you were well, went to Sandown and won. But the second horse at Sandown, She's a Saint, was well beaten at Doncaster at the weekend. So you can pick holes in the form. You can pick holes in any novice hurdler's form. It's whatever way you want to read it. Simple as that. I would agree. I wouldn't put anybody off Champ Kiley. I think he'll run a big race. Gaelic Warrior looks like he's going to step up and trip and run here. The direction of the track is always going to be a worry for him. He was markedly right the further he went at Leopardstown, so that's going to be a concern for him. But I would be with whoever's talking in Close Sutton, whoever's not talking in Close Sutton, I would be with Imperi Pass. I thought he was really good in the Moscow Flyer when he beat the Model Kingdom, but it was more the fact that he could win at the distance around a fast Punchestown that impressed me. I have no doubts about his stamina. He was 2-3 his first start in Naas, and I was delighted he showed that kind of speed at Punchestown.
It really is, yeah.
His jumping's really good as well.
Yeah, he's very professional, yeah.
So Imperi Pass is what the head say.
He's going to win, yeah.
And the heart says Champ Kiley. Tony's heart, anyway.
Man just can't. The tabloid can't resist, can he? It's going to win. It's going to win.
I'd say now it's more than just the heart. I mean, Danny genuinely fancies Champ Kiley to beat Imperi Pass.
Okay.
So that's a bit confusing.
And you easily could. I mean, other than the Royal Bond, Champ Kiley has been really good this year. He was very good in Galway. He was very good at Tipperary. He was 2-3 in the Royal Bond and pulled his chance into the ground, and then won the Lawlers. His form is rock solid.
Yeah. Okay, so Champ Kiley, keep an eye on, but Imperi Pass seems to be the unanimous verdict. Right, we've got the Brown Advisory, and we have an enhanced price here. Jerry Colomb is 5-2 from 7-4, the enhanced price now. DJ, is Jerry Colomb the good favourite here?
He deserves to be favourite. We don't know how good he is yet, Paddy. I think that's the key. I'd be a little bit worried about the ground. I know Gordon is saying that he's not worried about the ground over that trip. I would be a little bit worried about the ground. I think he's a better horse with cutting the ground. you'd like to think this time next year we'll be talking about him as a Gold Cup contender. As regards the race for now, I think the solid one all season has been Time Hill. Forget about that Newbury run, which was a mess of a race. They crawled. Newbury's a funny track for over fences. Some horses just don't take to the fence at Newbury, and I didn't think he enjoyed himself. I thought in the Caught with Star at Kempton over Christmas, on a track that shouldn't really have suited him, I thought he was brilliant. Big day for Micheál Nolan. Big call by Philip Hobbs, booking Micheál Nolan. I think he's the one at the price at the moment. I think he's the one that he's almost guaranteed to run his race. Ran a cracker and a really good Albert Bartlett, second in the Stayers hurdle. I can't see him finishing out of the frame. Whether he's good enough to beat Jerry Colomb, I don't know, but at the minute, at the prices, he's the one.
Okay, Lydia?
I really don't fancy Time Hill, but as I'm not a judge, it shouldn't bother.
Here we go. I'm going to have 3 days of this now.
It shouldn't bother DJ. I think that was a terrible Quarto Star, an absolutely terrible Quarto Star. The time was absolutely glacial. Everything made mistakes.
Glacial, what a great word.
And he managed to be in front at the end. Well done. I just don't think he's taken to fences at all. I don't think the Quarto Star proves anything. The rain, I think, is going to be needed for Jerry Colomb. I massively respect him. I think that he's going to improve for stepping up to 3 miles, but I do think he needs the rain to come, definitely. I can't have Sir Gerhard for this race with that little experience, and I really like the Real Whacker. I thought it was a superb performance in the Dipper, and going forward, I think that he's...
Back in Perry Pass.
We all got that message? Yep, good. Going forward, I think he can be ridden not as aggressively, but similarly towards the fore in the Brown Advisor, and he can put, with his jumping, he can put everything else under pressure. The Real Whacker.
The Real Whacker. Okay. Ruby?
I would be concerned about the lack of runs for Sir Gerhard, more so in that at championship level, 3 miles, 1 furlong. He's in training a long time and he's very, very fit, but just there's not the runs in the tank going that distance that would concern me as well as the jumping. But he is a very good horse. He was a very good winner last year's Ballymore, and look, hopefully it'll go right for him. But I would be with Jerry Colomb, and I'm not as concerned about the ground as the others. I think Sandown, really dry February, good to soft water ground. I'm not sure Cheltenham will be any quicker than Sandown was that day.
Okay, Tony?
Yeah, I'm going for the Real Whacker. I think he has course form, plenty of experience, and Paddy Neville, or whatever you want to call him, is making some impact since he went to England with a very small team. So, and he's eyed this, even though he was talking about the Gold Cup at the start, I think he's eyed this out, and very solid horse at a lovely price.
Okay, decent price. Yeah, the Real Whacker then for 2 years, Time Hill for DJ, and the jolly Jerry Colomb, the enhanced one for Ruby. Coral Cup is next. Lydia and Ruby, you got a pass on this one?
Yeah, I had really tried for you. I had a look at it last night. I really tried. Baffling.
Yeah.
At this stage.
Okay, DJ.
Yeah, I've had a few quid on Beacon Edge.
Beacon Edge.
Yeah, he's just. I go back to the Stayers hurdle 2 years ago. He traded 5-2 in running. Absolutely loved it. Didn't get home. Went chasing. He's a Grade 1 winner over fences. He won the Drimmore, and then everything just went all over the place. Started this season, he fell out of love with the game. But just last time at Navan in the Boyne behind Blazing Cal, he didn't actually jump that well, but he was still there in between the final 2 hurdles. He's rated 147 going into this race. He was 156 at one stage. I think if he travels in the early part of the race, I think he's a big player. He was 25-1 the other day. I think he'll go off considerably shorter.
Okay, Beacon Edge for DJ. Tony?
No real opinion. Winter Fog is one. Ruby, will he run in this?
I don't know where he's going to run there, the county. I'm not 100% sure, but he got a fair height, Tony, and maybe he'll carry it.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, Tony, that Winter Fog is rated 152, and Sharjah, who's got a massive chance in this race. I'd say Patrick will ride him. I'd say he'll run here. He's rated 155. I'd say there's more than £3 in ability in the difference even now between Sharjah and Winter Fog.
Yeah, but then
Sharjah runs there, is he?
I think he will, yeah.
Right.
Well, Sharjah is on his way.
Am I wrong? I'll have a match bet with you. I'll have a match bet with you. I'll have a coffee with you that he'll run here, right?
No, I don't know where he runs. He's there and he's in the county as well. Depends, I suppose.
I suppose Camfron could run well, couldn't he?
Yeah.
But he's fairly obvious.
Sorry, I'm actually wrong. I meant he's going to run the county. Sorry. I've got completely mixed up.
So you got a free coffee as well?
I meant the county, not the Coral Cup.
I wouldn't take it off him.
Okay.
I didn't think he was in the Coral Cup. But.
Okay, there you go. Okay, that's fine. Coral Cup, Beacon Edge, keep an eye on that for big price each way.
I've made a complete cock up there, by the way.
But you're relaxed.
Can we edit that out?
It's okay.
No, we're not. No, there's no way.
Oh, no.
How can we edit it? Unfortunately, Dave, this is not like your own show with Johnny Dean that's recorded.
Yeah.
This is
Myself
out
and Lydia
there.
are
I meant the Coral Cup.
I think
I meant the county
I think-
hurdle. I think Sharjah rather than the county hurdle.
I think
This is
he's
going-
totally rattled by the earlier insult,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
gone. He's gone at the game.
Yeah.
It's like watching Man United against Liverpool. It's like
Staggering
Bruno
around,
Fernandes
isn't it?
over there. Look, yeah.
Come on, Paddy, continue.
Okay, champion shape. Do you know what, DJ? We come to you last this time. So you take a few
This
deep
is like
breaths.
fishing, isn't it?
Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, and we talk about the champion chase.
forward to the 20
Lydia, this is one of those races where it is a proper head scratcher.
about what
The way
they're saying
the
about you
kind
on
of the
Twitter.
build up to the race has been, like with the race at Juvenile Clarence House Chase at Cheltenham the last day, and an Ergamine, not sure is it an Ergamine, the real Ergamine, and it's hard to get your head around, I think.
Isn't it great, the fact that we've had a clash in this division, a really big, meaningful clash, at least one in this division, in the Clarence House, the rescheduled Clarence House, as we had last year in the Clarence House. And it means that this race has become even more intriguing, not less intriguing for that, because it means that what is everyone going to do? What is the rethink after the Clarence House, depending on which set of connections that you are? I think Edwardson wins this all day long. I thought it was a really, really strong performance in the Clarence House. Editor de Sheet was able to control the race from the front. I'm not saying that he went really slow. He went quick early, then he slowed it down, and he had enough left to be able to, when Edwardson was a little bit too far back and got to just ahead of him, it meant that Edwardson had very little left in the closing stages, and Editor de Sheet was able to get back up. I don't buy the white fences and Ergamen thing. And I'd always been, I just don't. I mean, just look at the Irish strike rate at the moment. I mean, if white paint is all it needs, I'm going to paint the whole of Cheltenham white, and we get the Presbury
Cup. Yeah.
Absolutely. If that's all that it takes, then give me the white paint. I think that an Ergamen has always had a tendency to adjust to his right, and he just needed to be taken enough out of his comfort zone on a track that would expose that ruthlessly, which the new course wouldn't do as much as the old course, by the level of opposition. And I think that when you saw that Edwardson come up on his right-hand side at the final fence, and Ergamen had nowhere to go. He couldn't adjust right because Edwardson was there, and hence you had that major error. I mean, I think that's a major chink in Ergamen's argument.
Last year in the same race, didn't you? So, and it reversed in March.
In terms of
Shishkin.
Yeah, but there was no in the race fell apart around an Ergamen last year in the cream of the champion chase, didn't it? Shishkin didn't turn up, Chacun Passoir unseated, and there was very little to beat. There was nothing to put into pressure, and he did go right to out the first fence after the bend.
Did. But he did turn around. Well, we'll say it's our belief anyway that he improved in Cheltenham to his
Clarence House race.
Clarence
I
House,
agree with you. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So,
he did.
The only that I think I don't see where nobody seems worried about an Ergamen's in the Willie Mullins camp, worried about his Clarence House run. I would be, where last year I wasn't, and I backed an Ergamen last year to win, and this year I just didn't see what I thought I saw last year in the Clarence House. I didn't see it this year.
Yeah.
Now, they've gone out of their way to say that they're not worried about it, and we'll be interested to see what Ruby says, but just to me it looked a flat run, and I think Edward Storm wins.
So do I.
And I think that diversing a little, the Irish-English thing has been highlighted too much, and I think this year you'll see a change again. And the pendulum always swings. Yeah. We've had it for a few years now. The checkbooks have been in Ireland, and English national hunt racing is not in near the state that people are trying to publicise. And, you know, Brave Man's Game, Edward Stone, Constitution Hill could show that this year. There could be a huge swing. And to say that people have forgotten how to train horses in England now, that's absolute bull. It's just the pendulum swung our way, I'd say, when Jigginstown, JP, and a lot of English owners were sending horses to Ireland. I'd say it'll level up again now.
Okay, and we were so graceful in victory, weren't we? So that's not going to go back and bite us in the
Well,
ass.
we always are, aren't we?
Ruby and Ergamine, are we?
I'm with Tony.
Really?
I was the same. I could see how he could turn it around going to Cheltenham with Shishkin last year, change the tactics, you roll the dice. What do I think going there this year? I thought Editor de Geet was a good winner of the Clarence House, but I thought he got a brilliant ride. And I think when you need a brilliant ride to win a championship race, it's hard to win a second. And I think that's what he got. And it was even to roll from 4 out to 3 out, but to have enough in the tank then to go at the back of the third last, which meant that Energamine and Edwardstone had to quicken to try and chase a horse that was quickening. And that's very hard. That's what empties the tank, and that's what emptied Edwardstone in the last 50 yards in the Clarence House. I think Tom Cannon will revert and ride him the way he rode him in last year's Arkle, and I think he's the one to beat. I didn't think that would be the case leaving Cheltenham last year after watching the Arkle and the Champion Chase. I thought Energamine would be too good for Edwardstone, who was already an 8-year-old at that stage. But to me, Edwardstone has improved this year. Tingle Creek, Clarence House. I think he's a better horse this year than he was last year, and I think he'll win the Champion Chase.
Will they revert to positive tactics with Energamine?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
Would you?
I don't think that the tactics so much got him beat the other day. I just, like Tony, wasn't sure there was the same spark. I don't think it was tactics.
Are you right to just forget about Gentleman to Me altogether?
No, you're not. Maybe David fancies him. He's running here now, not in the Grand Annual.
Yeah.
You just won't let it go,
Just
DJ.
apologise for everything I've done.
Just apologise for everything.
What I want to say here is that the sensationally shrewd Lydia Hislop and, and the brilliant tipster that is Tony Mullins, as well as the greatest jockey that's ever walked this earth, I think they're all completely right here. Edwardstone is one of my strongest fancies of the week. I came out of the Clarence House going, there's only going to be one winner of the Champion Chase, and that's Edwardstone. I thought what Edwardstone did from the turn into the home straight to 100 yards from the line was extraordinary. And hearing afterwards that he was lame after the race, I think that only adds to the performance as well. I think his whole career he's been a better horse than people give him credit for, because he stayed an extra season over hurdles and ran in handicaps. He was beaten in a Greatwood hurdle and stuff like that. I think he's very good, and I think he'll win.
Okay, I really didn't expect a unanimous Edwardstone verdict there. I thought there'd be a bit of an Energamine as well. So
can I just say, some people have been crafting an argument for Nubi Negra, haven't they? For each way I've been hearing on sort of circuits.
Had his chance, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think prefer Gentleman to Me at 25.
I think it was on the basis of the rain not coming, to be fair. I think when it was a dry forecast, some people were arguing. I was just saying, I mean, he is a big price based on his Cheltenham form. It's the only observation I'd make.
I'd prefer Grenadine at 25s than Nubi Negra at 20s.
Okay, there you go.
Dan Skelton assures me that Nubi Negra will run a hell of a race in the Champion Chase if the ground is good. So he could finish third.
Okay, great. Cross country, you're on a break for this one.
No, I hate the race.
Tony?
Oh, I'm on a Kit Kat as well.
You're a Kit Kat. Ruby?
What does Ruby think? Look, last year Delta worked dispelled the theory that you couldn't win the cross country race without having had a run around there. He went and won first time, and it looks possibly a match. I don't know, is Franco de Port going to go? I think the Grand Stig de Paris has been his big aim all year, and that's where he's heading for. So, look, it looks between Gordon's two, Galvin or Delta Work. Who are you with, who are you against? I'm probably with Galvin, tell you the truth.
Okay. Is there a particular reason, or just kind of slightly bigger price?
Slightly younger. No real strong opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
Fresh horse, fresh legs, maybe.
Just Galvin, yeah.
I backed Galvin in November on the basis of a Shrewdy pointing out that it was likely to be the horse's target for
Thanks
the...
for sharing that on the road. Did all the roadies hear that? I didn't. Nice. Maybe I wasn't working that week.
Well, I mean, Gallopin de Champs, State Man.
That'll be shovel, yeah.
2-1.
So Galvin for you as well?
Yeah.
Great, okay, nice one. Okay, that's it. Grand Annual then is the next one after that. This is obviously Mad Cavalry Charge. Any strong views here, DJ?
Yeah, I like Third Time Lucky. Like, he was a good novice. He's a strong traveller who you don't know what he's going to find off the bridle. But last time at Sandown, Keelan Woods was brilliant on him. It was the first time he's jumped the last fence behind and actually won a race. Brilliant ride. Like, all his RPRs last year were in the 150s. He got up to 156, 154, 153s. He's running up 149 here. I think the race will suit him. He's won twice on the course already. I think it could be set up for him. It's just those last 100 yards are kind of going to be, will he get there? I think he might. I think he's well handicapped. If the ground is good, I think he's got a massive chance.
Okay. Ruby, it keeps coming up in my timeline, the El Carberry ride in the Grand Annual and the Nicky Henry. What was it called? Belvano, yeah.
The work was done earlier in the season there.
Yeah, but like that was like, it's spectacular. When you're riding this race, I presume, because a Mad Cavalry Charge going as fast as they can over fences.
Yeah, but it's a different race now, Paddy. When Paul won on Belvano, it was the new course. That could have been it was a 3 or 4 day festival, but it was definitely the new course anyway. This race is now the second last race on Wednesday on the old course, faster race. You couldn't possibly, well, you could try, but I'm not sure you'd have the same success.
So sorry, so in my head that means a shorter run, a shorter home straight.
Yeah, you
basically.
don't go as far on the far side. You descend much quicker. It's actually the descent that makes it much harder.
Yeah.
You descend so quickly on the old course that horses get a bit of momentum and it's harder to catch them. Whereas on the new course, because you descend so much slower, that you turn into the straight with more of a climb and you can actually peg them back.
So you want a decent, handy enough position.
I think you do, especially over fences. So I would be going with either Dino Blue or Magic Days, 2 mares that would be on the pace.
Okay, Lydia.
I'm going for a slightly mad one here. I quite like Rouge Vif. He will be on the pace. He has jumped under pressure on the 4 against much better horses. I thought there was definite signs of life last time out at Doncaster. He's got a great Cheltenham record. He would need the rain to stay away, but not completely stay away, as long as it doesn't turn to being something that we're not expecting it to be. Yeah, so Rouge Vif at a price.
Okay, Tony.
Just an interesting race with the first, second, third favourite all in the same colours. So it'll be interesting to see what will happen. But St. Roy, for me, you know, I don't think he's good enough to have a chance in the Arkle, and I think he should be in this.
Okay, so St. Roy if he runs. Yeah. Grant and Ruby was tipping up each way, maybe in the Arkle to pick up the pieces.
No bet, so exactly, if you're wrong, you're wrong.
Okay, the champion bumper. Ruby, do we know what the best is yet?
Look, it's for me is the favourite anyway, and a Dream to Share then his second favourite at John Kiley's. And they look 2 very fast horses. Chapeau de Salil probably should have won when he was second to Better Days Ahead at Fairy House. And your Fun the mare. Look, it depends on the weather, Paddy. I think if this rain that is forecast falls, that would most definitely swing me in the favour of Fact to File. I think he's the strongest there, and I think a stronger run race than he got at Leopardstown would really suit him. So if the rain does come, and I think there's no way he'll be 10-1 if it does rain.
Okay, Grant. Tony?
Yeah, there's so many Willies there that you just don't know. But I mean, listening to Patrick, I thought the most bullish he was after any of them was Fun. But maybe he bred her, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yes. So that,
you know, a few more at home out of the family.
Yeah.
It does tend to make you hype them up a little bit.
Yeah, I think.
Is that how this game works?
Really?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I have a half sister or a full sister. But I would say that the bumper is always a race to wait until close to it, and you know, I mean, Willie is the bumper king, so you just go with what's best fancy the Willies. But you know, there's been years like what was the horse that came from last there? Yeah, Joe Cullen, and much later than the Wiley horse, Briar Hill. Yeah. You know, so I mean, if a race is run different, one of Willie's could be out the back there and just come through, you know, one of the outsiders. But, you know, it is obvious. You just go for Willie's horses and decide among them. No one else has a chance.
Really?
No.
Just as simple as that?
Well, that's the way it is every year, isn't it?
Not every year.
A Dream to Share might disrupt that, potentially.
Yeah, well, I mean, what has he won? 10 of the last 20, is it?
That's not a bad strike rate.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know. I haven't looked up that. But, I mean, and the ones he hasn't won, and the ones he has won, he's beaten himself a short head and a half a length. And you know, I mean, if you're going to be looking at the bumper, you're just looking at the Winnie Mullins horses.
Okay. Is experience important? Like, I'm just in my head.
Experience of which? Now,
just for the horse going over because the big occasion, travelling, all that kind of stuff.
One, like, maybe 2 runs, would it?
1 or 2, yeah. The trainer is important.
Yeah.
Dream to Share is a massive player.
Yeah.
He's 3 from 3. Like, obviously, what he did at Leopardstown, like, I don't know, Ruby will probably tell you more. Like, I think he is probably the quickest horse in the race, but I don't know if speed is, you know, what you were saying about
he's
sprint.
That pedigree as well.
Yeah.
He's a hard road to raise you, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's pedigree for speed. Look, I'll tell you, when I watched him winning last summer, the second time, second time, you're thinking, whoa, could be he'd be half a Melbourne Cup horse. I was thinking more so than the Cheltenham bumper horse with his pedigree. But I think he's a very fast horse, whether he'll get the trip in the Cheltenham bumper or not.
The one thing I think Willie Mullins' best young horse is not running the champion bumper. I love Ballymore.
I agree.
Oh, there we go. Wasn't expecting that.
There you go. Okay, so
you won't hear
tip
too
for the
often,
Cheltenham bumper's not running. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So the bumper. So we're a bit all over the shop, really. Just look at Willie Mullins, but nothing.
If it rains, Fact to File.
If it rains, Fact to File. Okay. Wednesday naps before we go for another quick break. Lydia. Edwardstone. Tony.
Skip me there for a second. Have a look.
DJ.
Edwardstone.
Jesus. Ruby.
Impair a pas.
Impair a pas.
Oh, yeah,
I'm actually writing all these down because every year, like if I host one of these things, like somebody says, "Oh, what do they fancy?" I said, "Like I can't remember."
You think I listened?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, jeez.
I'm going for Champ Kiley to beat all the hot pots in the Ballymore.
Perfect. Okay, so Champ Kiley, Perry Pass,
Are you listening?
Edwardstone. Yeah, listen. Yeah, I was listening. There you go. Okay, another very short break. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. Welcome along to our Cheltenham Festival quiz.
Ruby's just migrating towards Frank there.
Yeah, this is typical Ruby.
You left out the most obvious one.
Shut up, you
Well done, Frank.
I don't know, you mightn't know. He sent them back to the car. Hey, no. Let's save for the ring, save for the ring.
Deputy editor. Deputy, I tell you what you are. Deputy Noah.
A rapper from the UK.
Craig David.
No idea.
Skip.
Welcome back. That clip you just watched there was from our Cheltenham quiz show, which will be shown on RacingTV this Thursday after Road to Cheltenham, and on the Paddy Power Racing YouTube channel afterwards as well. DJ, Ruby gave you an awful hard time that day.
Yeah, I just look
The
at that.
HR department were busy for bullying.
They were, yeah. No, we've made up since. I just look at clips like that and I just go, how did I find anybody to marry me? Put me in a headband in jockey silks.
Yeah.
I didn't think I could get any uglier on the screen than I do there. Big red cheeks, a headband, a belly. It's not good viewing. And what?
And a temper.
And I have a bit of a temper. Oh, you don't want to get on the wrong side of me, Tony. Let me tell you.
That's all about entertainment.
Yeah, it is.
The things you do for the viewers, DJ.
Just about to say the camera never lies. Yeah. That wouldn't be a good thing to say.
All right, Ruby, right?
Okay, right. A quick viewer question. Andy asks us if Constitution Hill is the most exciting horse in training, and presuming he is, who's next on the list? So, DJ?
Oh, that is a good question. It's probably Imperial Pass, but I think this time next year we'll know a lot more about Ballyburn. I just love Ballyburn. Loved him when he won his point. I don't know how he won it. And what he did at Naas I thought was extraordinary. I think Ballyburn is a very good horse.
Tony, racing, one of the things I love about racing is that, like, we're always most excited about what hasn't happened yet. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you don't appreciate a champion horse. You're going, what about the bumper? Like, you know, go away.
The intrigue is what it's all about. I mean, you know, in the old days, going to Irish racing, and even still now, you know, everyone's talking about the bumper before the first race is run. What did you hear about O'Grady's horse? What did you hear about Willie's horse? You know, it's the looking for another champion is the thing. And the one beautiful thing about our game is when he comes along, the champion like Constitution Hill, you know, with the Irish English thing, the Pressbury Cup and that, everybody will appreciate Constitution Hill, you know, even from Ireland. You know, I remember the day that Desert Arkle won his Gold Cup. There was more Irish people who clapped him the whole way in than there was English people, you know. So aside from our little banter about the Irish-English thing, everybody loves a champion. And when a horse does, you know, what seems the impossible. So it's just our game reinvents itself every year. It's a brilliant, brilliant game.
Ruby Superstar in the wings?
I'd just say Gallop in the Champ was next after Constitution Hill to me anyway. Look, maybe by this day, maybe in 12 days' time he won't be, but right now I would say he's beside Constitution Hill or just behind him.
Yeah, I obviously agree with that. I was just going for something less expensive.
Put down the shovel, you will you?
Yeah.
I'm just imagining
Like, it's fine. Like, geez, it's okay. There's no right or wrong answer. It's an
Sorry,
opinion.
Ruby.
It's
Sorry,
an
okay, I'm
opinion
sorry.
thing.
I just
Sorry,
imagine
Ruby.
Tony going up to everyone and says, "Okay, comes in Irish or English, right?
Yeah.
Irish or English."
He knew him all.
It probably is Gallop in the Champ. As things stand, but I a bit to your point, I think I just want to save for Constitution Hill at the moment.
Yeah.
He hasn't yet won the champion hurdle.
Yeah,
You know, we're already going next.
Best ever, yeah. Okay, that's great. Okay, we're going to move on to day 3, the Turner's Novice Chase. We're on the new course now, right?
We are.
The longer course.
Stiffer course.
Stiffer course,
More
right.
galloping.
More galloping, right. So Turner's Novice Chase is first. Mighty Potter's a favourite here. DJ, is this a good favourite?
He's a good horse. I don't know whether he's a good favourite or not. He deserves to be favourite. I thought his Drimmo performance was the best performance of any novice this season. I thought it was a brilliant, brilliant performance. At the prices, look, I've always been an appreciated fan. I just think he's different. And I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt in the Irish Arkle because he was 1-5 and 1-9 for his 2 previous starts over fences. He dawdled along and didn't have to come out of his comfort zone at all. And then all of a sudden he's thrown into the Irish Arkle, and it's like, God, Dysart Dynamo is gone. And I think it was a bit of a shock to the system. I don't think we seem to really appreciate it in the Irish Arkle. Stamina, I think he will improve for the step up and trip. There's obviously that doubt in the back of your mind, will he really see it out? I think he will. I think he's a very good horse. At the price at the moment, there is no doubt whatsoever. If all the horses were the same price, I'd be saying Mighty Potter is the bet here. They're not. I think Appreciated is a knock in each way bet.
Okay, Lydia?
I've gone round and round in circles with this race. I think it's probably because I made a misstep right at the start, whereby I backed Banbridge for the Arkle, and now Banbridge is probably, I think, heading here. With Mighty Potter, I was kind of against him in the Drinmore. I felt that it was like Banbridge just didn't turn up on the day, the ground was wrong, and that it was such a steadily run race that actually there was possibilities in behind, and also that Mighty Potter made a couple of serious mistakes. Then I saw him at the DRF and thought, no, okay, that is serious stuff, and you look at the analysis of the race, and again, it is serious stuff. Then I go back and remember that he didn't travel over very well last year. He bolted to post and he crashed through a rail on the way to the start. You know, he ran terribly in the Supreme, and as far as I know, Cheltenham is still over the Irish Sea, so he's still going to have to travel, and he's still going to have to put up with the crowd. So now that he's the price he is, I've kind of again gone against him. So as you can see, I'm twirling around and around. Probably Banbridge, I think. I'm not convinced about Appreciated stepping up in trip. I'm just not convinced that that's what he wants. I know it looked like it was what he did in the Irish Arkle because he couldn't lie up, but I'm not convinced.
Okay, Tony?
I agree the same. I think it's a serious up in trip to go from the Arkle to the Turners. And, you know, Appreciated ran on well, and I suppose he has his chance, but Banbridge for me, Joseph O'Brien's horses run very well all winter. His strike rate is huge, and it goes under the radar because of the amount of horses that Willie and Gordon and Henry have in that. But Banbridge for me here, good and solid.
Good, rock solid. Ruby, was it always the plan for Appreciated to step up and trip, or just
it looked like the Arkle
just because Christmas went pear-shaped?
Well, with Dublin Racing Festival, and it looked, and you have to reassess, I suppose, after big events like that. But I would be in David's camp here. I do think Mighty Potter is probably the best horse, but at the prices, I'd be willing to give Appreciated a shout.
Okay, 2 for Appreciated, 2 for Banbridge. That's okay. The Pertemps is next. Ruby and Lydia, you have a 30 seconds off for this one.
Thank you.
Tony, Pertemps.
Yeah, no, these handicaps, I don't know. Maxim has done massive stuff off lightweights, absolutely motored in. Maybe the Dublin Racing Festival handicap came a bit quick for him, or maybe the penalty.
On the inside, didn't he? Yeah, got completely taken back.
He did, but I think, you know, I mean, what's the great expression? I think that the reason he didn't get the gap was going too fast for him. You know, so, and that has happened with a jockey one day when the owner asked him why didn't he go for the gap. He says because the gap was going faster than I was. So, and I think that's a bit of what happened, Maxim, that day. Now they claimed off him on the day, and David Russell seemed to have struck up a good relationship with him, but. It's very hard to judge a horse that's coming off about, I think he was coming off about 112, suddenly 120, and suddenly he's 132, or, you know what I mean? So it's hard to judge him, but he was massively impressive in those previous 2 handicaps, and I'd give him another chance. Okay. Maxim, DJ, I suspect there's something coming here.
Yeah, this is my strongest fancy of the week. Well, at a price, obviously. I'm a big Walking on Air fan.
Okay.
Look, Nicky Henderson is not the type of trainer you think would target a Pertemps Final, but I think this year he might be. I think with Walking on Air, obviously it makes Tony's really interested in my tip here.
I was paying attention.
Ruby is politely pointing out my mistake, the Jan Kennedy Road Maxim on one of the 2 days that he
Ruby likes pointing out mistakes,
doesn't he? Yeah, well, we'll
plenty of them.
We'll bury him.
I was very politely doing it for Tony, though.
Yeah, but Walking on Air, I think this has been a specific target for this horse all year. Like, he won on his debut over hurdles, and then he was 9-2 for a Grade 1 that was won by Gordon's horse. Unfortunately, he died in the Novice Chase. What was he called?
Top Bandit.
No. I can't think of his name. It'll come to me anyway. But he was sent off 9-2 for that Grade 1 at Aintree last season. This season,
3 Stripe Life.
3 Stripe Life. Very well done, Lydia. She's good, isn't she?
She's brilliant.
And this season,
still more to go. You're still down there.
I have another day to get her back on side.
You're winning.
I think with Walking on Air, he's a brother to Meticulous, who won over 3 miles. He's a half brother to West Coast Time, who wanted 3 miles as well. Out of Refinement, who of course was just beaten in the Mayor's Hurdle. I like him. He won off 133 at Exeter, and I thought he'd get maybe 7 or 8 pound. He got 5. I thought he bolted up. Nico gave him 1 crack after the last. I think he's potentially one of the best horses in this race, and he's only going to carry whatever, 11 stone something. I think off 138, he's the best handicapped horse of the week.
Okay, right. Walking on Air for Nicky Henderson and for David Jennings in the Pertemps. Okay, the Ryanair is next, the third race today. Ruby, we start with you. We haven't started with you for a while.
Cheers, Paddy. Ryanair, look, I mean, obviously it all changed after Ascot when Shishkin bounced back and bolted in there. Allaho is out, Shishkin is in, and the race revolves around him. I thought he looked so happy in Ascot, stepping up in trip, going just those not even a couple of miles an hour, fractions of a mile an hour slower, really seemed to suit him. I thought he jumped really well. He travelled better than I had ever seen him travel. Nico rode him like staying wasn't an issue, and he bolted in, and the race revolves around him. I think at 8 to 11 is what he is at the minute. I think that's a fair price for a short
8 to 11 shot, yeah.
He is, to me anyway.
Okay, Shishkin. Lydia?
He even jumped straighter at Ascot for going that stride. So, I mean, because he went wildly out to his left in the Clarence House last season, and for that more comfortable pace, he was able to jump straighter. I think he completely dominates this race. I know the thing that's been thrown at him is whether his profile is kind of sort of adds up. I only think there's only one bad run, and I think he's got an excuse for that, and that was in the Queen Mother Champion Chase last season. He was found to have had a rare bone condition after that. I don't think the run in the Tingle Creek was bad at all. I think that Sandown was not going to suit him. I mean, when you see what he did at Ascot in the Clarence House, you know, getting a good track position at Sandown was unlikely. He just didn't have the pace for 2 miles anymore, and that kind of right-handed track probably wasn't going to suit him either. So I think he's run perfectly well and shown that he's still got game in the Tingle Creek, and then he's come out and put up a really substantial performance in the Ascot Chase. So I think he wins, and I think he wins it handsomely. So the question for me is trying to find out the horse that finishes second. And I've been going all the way around. I mean, you can argue that Blue Lord is solid. You can argue that Janadil did really well to come from last to first in the race that he made his return in last time. But I'm kind of going to go with French Dynamite. I was more impressed with his jumping last time. We know he handles Cheltenham, and I don't think there's, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's a load of pace on here to put him out of his comfort zone. And I think that he can sit towards the 4, not be under pressure, and at a bigger price than most can hit the frame.
Okay, Tony, so Shishkin to continue the English dominance of this year's festival.
Yeah, the English dominance, but I'm not saying they're going to be dominant, but they're certainly going to play a much bigger role this year, and Shishkin wins unopposed here. And I always thought it, even when he was racing over 2 miles, I always thought that when they put this stat up in distance, like I always thought the same about Duvan, but anyway, I never got to prove it.
Yeah. What do you see that
well, I see horses, some horses can be free on the bridle over 2 miles and it looks like they have loads of pace, when in actual fact they're bullying themselves to get there. As opposed, I think if they were taught to settle behind in a distance race, they'd be much better. You know, Duvan was the one that I always wanted to see, even over a Gold Cup distance.
Yeah.
I just thought he was the absolute, and unfortunately they never raced him over a distance.
DJ Shishkin, you have no disagreement there, I'm assuming?
No, I agree with my more esteemed colleagues here.
Okay, geez, you're getting there. You're getting there. You're getting there. Okay, we're moving on to the Paddy Power Stayers Hurdle, which is, I think, very strange that Blazing Cal is such a short price favourite, like the elusive Blazing Cal. I mean, what do you think, Tony?
Well, it's amazing how he's 94 favourite. I think they're just afraid of Charles Burns and his. Are you cowardly, Paddy Power?
Oh, big time, yeah.
Well, obviously. I mean, this horse is one run in 2 years.
Yeah.
Now he won
Not
well.
the ideal prep for a Grade 1 race, is it? Like.
Yeah, it's especially a Stayers.
Yeah.
Like, I think Blazing Cal has his chance, but it's certainly not a 94 favourite job. Tihupu has done everything. He was the first one to bring down Honeysuckle. He was motored in the Red Mills. You know, is that his only 2 runs this year, it is?
I think so.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, he should be favourite. Mary's Rock, it's more preference for here, isn't it?
That's the way it
Seems
reads.
to be the chat.
Yeah, and even though she won the Mayor's Hurl last year, you'd imagine, but maybe they're diverting from Honeysuckle. But Mary's Rock is a formidable opponent. Home by the Lee is there, but I think they're enhanced because a lot of people have thought that, well, there's no doubt he was, Flooring Porter was underperforming. But according to what I'm hearing now is Gavin Cromwell had a problem with Flooring Porter for the first couple of months, something with a hind leg or something, I don't know what it was. But they seem to be over it, and they're starting to get very confident now. And for me, if they are right and they have him back to him, he wins.
Flooring Porter.
Flooring Porter.
Again.
Yeah. Now, yeah, I do. I think he'll win. He's the best horse in the race. He's done it. He has the best jockey in the world. All that, you know.
I was starting to think Danny is the bet to be leading rider this week.
I'm telling you, he's going to have a good week.
Yeah.
Now, there's two French horses here again.
Right, here we go.
The horse that won the Cleve Hurl.
Yeah.
He's a formidable one. And that other horse that hasn't run in England yet, is it?
Henri Le Farceur.
Oh, yes, baby. That was very good. Give it a go,
Tony.
Go on.
The French horse. Like, they have a chance here in what is, to me, you know, the second, third, fourth, fifth favourite. They're good horses, but they're not classy. Flooring Porter, if he's back to his best, will win. And the two French horses, I'm not quite sure of what they are, but if they feel they're good enough, you know, I mean, your man won the Cleve Hurl well.
Will he go, Tony? If you're saying will Flooring Porter, if he's back to his best, he wins. Is his best good enough here?
Yeah, why not?
I'm not sure.
I mean, he beat all the ones for the last 2 seasons. I don't see why.
Well, he hasn't beaten Blazing Cal, Tihupu or Murray's Rock.
Yeah, because he hasn't met them.
Yeah, but I think it's a much better race this year.
Yeah, well, I don't agree. I think that Tihupu could still be a very good horse, but I think Blazing Cal, Marie's Rock and Home by the Lee. I mean, personally, Home by the Lee might be advertised by the underperforming of Flooring Porter as opposed to him being very good himself. So I'm going with Flooring Porter as the best and an interesting bet on the two French horses. Okay. If you wanted an each way high price.
Can I ask a question before we go?
Of course
to
you can.
It's just about the rider of Blazing Cull, who I don't know that well. Philip Burns, is it? Yeah. Can you tell the three of you will know him much better?
Claims 5, so he obviously can't claim in this race. Rides predominantly for Charles, his father. But yeah, look, before you start, he's at a disadvantage in that he can't claim, and he would ordinarily in a handicap or maiden order be able to claim.
Cheltenham experience.
Yeah. November, he won the 3-mile hurl and shoot first, didn't he?
Oh, of course he did, yeah. Right, okay, of course he did.
From watching races and doing analysis and stuff, I would say from last summer to now, he's probably the most improved jockey.
Right, okay.
He's good hands. You'd know a lot more than I would, Ruby, but there's significant improvement in the last 12 months, I think.
It's just a heavy mantle to carry, isn't it? Favourite for the at this stage, the stage hurdle, yeah.
You know, I mean,
yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah, no pressure.
We've done it with Princess Zoe on the flat. We have Joey Sheridan riding claim when he should be claiming 5 all the time and that, but it's really not the right way to go. He essentially is a £5 penalty.
Yeah.
So, but Philip Burns is well capable jockey, but in reality he should be claiming 5 and he can't. Yeah. So it's a penalty for him. I can't believe him 94 favourite anyway. For me, he's the worst favourite of the week.
Okay, DJ.
This race has changed completely in the last couple of months. Like after Christmas, I was thinking Ashdale Bob had a big chance because he ran so well in the Coral Cup last year. I can't see him winning the race now. I think Tihupu, Blazing Cal and Marie's Rock are real big players. I think Gavin Cromwell has done an incredible job to get Flooring Porter to win 2 stairs hurdles because he's not straightforward. If he were to win 3, I think it would be an incredible training achievement. I don't think he'll win. Of those 3 unexposed ones, Marie's Rock is the one I'm really interested in. She was brilliant the last day in Cheltenham in the Ralkeel. I think if they do run in this race and if Epatante goes for the Mayor's Hurdle, I think Marie's Rock could potentially vie for favouritism. I think she's very good. I really do.
Maybe?
My only worry for Tihupu is how often I read that he needs testing ground. Yeah. And Gordon knows his horses inside out and back to front. And I'd be worried if we get the rain. I think Tihupu will win. But I probably would be siding with Home by the Lee if we don't. I think They've riding him with a bit of light this year, and I thought he improved dramatically from the Liz Mullen to Christmas, and I think he's a better horse than he was this time last year when he finished 6th or 7th in the race.
Okay, Lydia?
Again, this race is baffling me. I'm going to put my glasses on. Solidarity.
Okay, Jesus.
Solidarity.
Yeah.
Blazing Car, I mean, I'm slightly concerned about the inexperience of the rider. Also, didn't Charles say that he got him really fit for the Boyne as well? Sort of like, you know, he had to prove himself to get there. I don't know, I don't like that going into the race. Chupo, again, I worry about the ground because, you know, it's the usual arc of the ground is a worry, the ground is the worry, the ground is the worry. Oh, I'm favourite. No, the ground's not worried, the ground is fine. Absolutely fine. So that concerns me. Mary's Rock has never tried 3 miles before, and she used to pull really hard. So that worries me. Home by the Lea, I think, is an improved horse since they've ridden him with a bit of light. Flooring Porter just seems to be a lesser horse this season. Maybe he'll bounce back. Classical Dream, I quite like the freshness angle, but he isn't a straightforward freshness angle, is he? Willie has been talking about whether he'd quite get there.
He's on the road anyway.
Yeah, so it's not, you know, thinking, oh, well, he's been laid out for this. Well, he hasn't. So I'm kind of coming round to Gold Tweet, really. He's got to prove the stamina in a strongly run race, if it's a strongly run race. But I think they seem to be pretty confident that they can ride him in different ways. I thought it was a brilliant ride to win the Cleve. And yeah, I'm increasingly starting to like Gold Tweet.
Okay, Gold Tweet. So let's go recap. Gold Tweet. If it rains, Teahupu. If not, Home by the Lee. Flooring Porter. And Marie's Rock. Okay, we got there eventually.
And
it's about 25 minutes in that race.
And the 2 French horses as good each way.
And the 2 French horses, which we'll only you have to call them out yourself.
Tony.
You have to. We Gold Tweet. We've got
Gold Tweet. Yeah.
What's the other one called again?
The good each way.
Come on, Tony. What's
you?
It's called
What's it
Unreal.
For your esteemed colleague.
Parlez-vous Francie.
Parlez-vous Francie. Right. Okay, we're moving on to the Magners Plate.
Can I take
Yeah, I think it's you.
Henri Le Fossett.
Henri Le Fossett. Okay, the Magners Plate is the next race. Any strong views here? This is a.
I was giving Phil Lord a chance, but apparently not going to run here, so hard to fancy him. Kilcrut maybe. You know, placed the bumper in the past, good ground at Sudan. Trip might be ideal from only a shout about. Not that I fancy him strongly.
Yeah, and Fildor would have been very interesting if you ran this race. I did watch the show. I thought it was really interesting. I hate when you look at a handicap like this. The first thing I want to do is get a favourite beaten, and So Scottish has been favourite for this race for ages. And when I went through the race last week, he was the one horse I really didn't want to tip, and I came out of studying the race thinking this could be a good thing. He's rated 143. The trip is going to help from his run against Booth Hill at Ascot. I think he's crying out for this trip. Emmett Mullins has won the race with the shunter. He knows what it takes to win it. I'd say he's a better horse than 143. I like his profile, and yeah, he's 4-1 at the moment. It's not value, but if you back a winner 4-1 at Cheltenham, it is value. So
it's all right, isn't it? Yeah. Lydia?
I've had 2 long-standing opinions for this race, one of which is So Scottish after watching him at Ascot and just thinking you need to step up in trip and you're going to be deadly when that happens, and this is the race that he's chosen. But also I quite like Frero Bamboo, who ran really well in the Grand Annual last season and shaped as though he really wants a trip like this, so he's got some Cheltenham experience, and Venetia Williams has mentioned stepping him up in trip, but she hasn't yet.
Okay, maybe she's waiting.
She's a good record
maybe
in this
she
race.
might be. And she had a fantastic festival this time last year.
Tony?
You know, So Scottish is there, but I mean, you can't really form an opinion in these races till you see the weights and what's going for it. So, So Scottish has been obviously aimed all the time, but there's 4 or 5 down there that are in 3 or 4 different races, so you don't know what's going anywhere. And Hollow Games was a non-runner yesterday, was he?
Day before, yeah.
Day before, so does that mean he's out, or
I don't know. I wasn't.
I think he might run on the Arkle, maybe.
Really?
Hollow Game in the Arkle?
Yeah.
He's not Gordon Elliott. Don't attack him.
Or the county horse.
Stop. Come on, we've got over it.
Okay, so Scottish, pretty solid favourite, but like watch it brief, wait and see. And Frero Bamboo, just keep an eye for Venetia Williams. Okay, we're coming to the Mares Novice Hurdle, Tony.
Break now.
The moment has arrived. The moment has arrived.
Tony.
Princess Zoe. I mean, she's a big price. She's 5-2 as an enhanced here, by the way. She's 13-8 to finish in the top 4. We're going 5-2 to finish in the top 4. But let's see what you have to say before you decide whether to back down. I presume she's all well. And
well, she's actually, I think she's in season there this morning. So we're hoping to bring her down to the vet tomorrow. But anyway, I'd love if she
French
was in season.
ballerina, one in season, is that right?
Yeah, well, no, she'd be, you see, now, this is Monday, so we're 11, 12 days out from the race, 11 days. And so I'd love her to be in season because it'll be all over then and she'll be fine by Wednesday or Thursday.
Sorry, I get you, yeah.
And look, we have, the interesting thing here is Lucia has never come off the bridle in her life. I'm surprised they're not going for the Supreme with her. She has a £5 penalty here, and she'd have a £7 allowance in the Supreme, which would give her a £12 of an advantage in the Supreme.
Nicky, are you watching?
Yeah. Tony Mullins making a plea for Lucia to run the Supreme.
Nicky, just go away. And so hopefully she'll go there, but I don't think she will. I think she'll come here. But she has a £5 penalty. Ashrow Diamond also has a £5 penalty. Then you have, you know, a platter of fillies or willies. Then you have Magical Zoe, which is Henry's there. But our one has done it all. She's had a sort of a rush preparation for that race in Punchestown, because, you know, we had it half in our head that we might run in the Johnstown Hurl. Then we decided that she had done enough in Punchestown, but it was a rushed preparation.
You were delighted after that, though, weren't you?
I was very thrilled. Like, I mean, coming off the bend, Danny went for home. She shot 5 clear, and the reason she made a mistake at the last was she conked out. He said 50 yards before the last she conked out, and her natural ability after making a bad mistake, she held on to dead heat. I think it was a brilliant run. You know, as I said to people, Isterback got beaten his first one over hers. Dawn Run got beat. You know, for her to go out and win with a rushed preparation, and in fairness, everything has gone perfectly since. I can't believe 12-1. And I've been telling Paddy Keogh, if he doesn't keep backing her now, I'm going to call him a coward if she doesn't keep shortening. He's always telling me
how will you be on the day?
I'll be very nervous because
plenty of runners at Cheltenham before, but she seems special, like.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That I go over to Cheltenham with horses hoping if they run the race of their life that they're placed.
Yeah.
I believe this one has a serious, genuine chance of winning. And I've had her over at Willie's jumping those white I'll put it up on Twitter maybe tomorrow now. And she was upsize the dog. What do you call the dog there? And he's flying along and he hit me when I was trying to take the camera. But
big one or the small one?
No, the big lad, the big woolly
Rottweiler.
lad.
No, that's George.
No, George's lad. Yeah. Oh. But anyway, the dog runs into me, and but she jumped.
Riley.
Well, now Riley is right, but Danny did say the first morning we went over when they were white that she did have a look.
Okay.
And just to say, you know, a lot of people don't believe that there's a difference. If you go back to Hey Johnny in November, and Charlie Mullins rode him in the handicap hurl, white flag raised down to the first horse, went oop like that, and Charlie went out over his head. So you know, I agree with him. I love these new white. I think it's a great concept, but it's just something you have to be schooled to do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're wrong. I think they're brilliant, and the horses are definitely, in my opinion, definitely jumping better since these white and horses can identify better. I love them, but you just have to school over them.
Princess Zoe has.
And Princess Zoe has and has done everything perfectly. And as I say, I'm surprised that Paddy is not putting enough on her to keep her shortening up. Paddy Keogh, the owner. Philomena won't be backing her, but Paddy is always telling me how much he's going to have on her. So we'll see. If she keeps shortening, I'll know he's backing her.
Jesus.
But I believe that she has a winning chance, and I'm astounded at her price, actually.
Okay, you sound like you're almost insulted.
Well, I'm sort of half insulted because I know the next thing that DJ now is going to trot out something like, well, if she was trained by Willie Mullins, she'd be 3-1.
He's on the way back. He's not going to do that now. DJ.
No, I think the price angle with Princess Zoe, put it this way, if we didn't know she was Princess Zoe and we're just judging her on her hurdle run, she'd be 50-1. Do you know what I mean? Dead heating with a 40-1 shot of Henry de Bromhead's is terrible form. But we know from the back catalogue that Princess Zoe is a Group 1 winner in the flat. We know she's finished second in the NASCAR Gold Cup. And I would, probably you're talking Honeysuckle, Henry having a winner. And then Tony is probably next on the list for results that I'd kind of love, not just because you're sitting beside me, just the whole story is fantastic. I think if Lucia wasn't in the race, you'd have a big chance. I think Lucia is exceptional. I know she
mightn't be in the race.
Yeah, she might. Yeah.
Are you listening, Nicholas?
The plea has begun. We'll all put in a few bob and send it over to Seven Barrows and see will it make any difference. But I think with Lucia, like, apart from her jumping up the home straight, particularly at the last, like, she obviously is a huge engine. I think she's potentially head and shoulders above this lot. A lot of Joy has a chance at a price. A lot of Joy of Willie's will be the one I'd like, but I think Lucia will win. But I hope Tony wins.
Okay, Lucia, Lydia?
I like Lucia a lot. I think Lucia and Astro Diamond are both very talented, but they do have the penalty that they've got to concede to the rest of the field. I think Lucia jumps very smartly. I think Astro Diamond's got a good turn of foot. I hope the Princess Zoe runs really well. The other Zoe, I think Magical Zoe, has got some good form. I was impressed that she was able to win last time that we saw her. But I think this is a really deep race. Is Harmonia Maker still in the race? Because there's Halkadid Talbot, who I think is...
One of Gardens is out.
Yeah, Liberty Dance
is out. Okay, so Harmonia Maker still... I think both of those are very talented mares as well. I think this is really deep. And again, I'm probably going to leave it to nearer the time, but my long-term interest in this race was for Magical Zoe.
Magical Zoe, okay. The wrong Zoe. Ruby?
Yeah, Willie has plenty in it, and I will be coming down on the side a lot of Joy as well. I think 2 miles of Cork, she missed the second last, and Gavin's mare got by her. I know the way you're thinking, is it?
Joy. Is she the Camelot filly that's a bit free, is it?
Yeah, that ran in the Cesarewitch.
Yeah,
I know the way you're thinking. Beat her at Cork first time up.
Deep
then
Cave.
she went 2.5 at Christmas behind Deep Cave, which is just beyond her 2.5. Dropped back and 1/2 in her next start then at Ferryhouse. I think the stiff 2 miles will really suit her. I think she ran an incredible race in last year's Irish Cesarewitch from a very wide draw. She had to do some running to get herself into a position early that day and finished third in the end. I think she's a big runner.
I'll tell you what I think, Paddy. I think Paul thinks he probably has to ride Astro Diamond. She's second favourite. She's whatever 3-1. I think secretly he'd love to ride Lotta Joy.
Okay, interesting. So keep an eye on Lotta Joy. Keep an eye on Lucia, obviously. Keep an eye on Magical Zoe. But they'll all be looking at the arse of Princess
Patrick
Zoe.
Road, Princess Zoe, or not Princess Zoe. Astro Diamond.
I was just about to make that point.
You think Patrick will
You
ride
wouldn't know.
Astro
Patrick rode her both times behind Original National and Facile Viga. I'd say Paul will side whichever one he thinks.
And can Patrick do the weight on Astro Diamond?
He can 11.7, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
11.5, isn't it?
11.7.
11.7, 11.2 is the others, is it? Yeah, yeah. But it's a £5 penalty, which...
Limini, Lorena.
Yeah, they've done it with it, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Kim Muir, finish off day 3.
Stumptown, moving swift. Stumptown, and move on to day 4.
Stumptown for you, Lydia?
I don't have a strong view here. No, I don't. I'm not going to pretend that I do.
DJ?
Oh, probably Stumptown. He's a brilliant jumper.
Yeah.
Don't like the race though.
Tony?
Isn't the Kim Muir, isn't it? What's the 2 horses? Am I mixing
2 more
up?
French horses?
No. The Ramillies and...
No, that was National Chase.
Yeah. Is there one of them going back for this, isn't it?
No, neither of them. Well, Ramillies hasn't the runs.
Ramillies and what's the other horse?
Gaillard de Menil. He's too high. It's not to 145, isn't it? Next
There's
is
the second horse of Willie's that was in the... Is
Mr.
in the form.
Incredible, no?
One of them, anyway, I just can't remember. You know, I'd imagine that they can't all run the 4 mile chase, so there's one of them going to be
National
here.
Run Chase now.
So the tip here is Stumptown.
Yeah, whatever.
And Tony knows he's going to win, but he can't remember. Yeah. It's grand.
I'll work it out in a minute. Dave, watch me on day 4.
Yeah, exactly.
You won't mind when Princess Zoe is one.
Exactly. Thursday naps, please, David.
Thursday nap is my Cheltenham nap. It is walking on air in the Pertemps Final.
Walking on air in the Pertemps. Need I bother asking you, Tony, would it be unlucky to nap her?
Oh, no, I'm going to nap her, and I believe, I'm a believer.
Good
Tony, would it mean more to you if she won this than it did the Group 1?
Yeah, well, it would definitely mean more to Paddy. Paddy has been pushing me. Paddy Keogh and his sister Philomena own the horse. And Paddy has been pushing me to go jumping. I said, Paddy, you have a Group 1 horse on the flat. You don't go jumping. So the next thing, anyway, she went to the Newmarket sales and she failed to sell. And I kept telling him how valuable she was. So he came out, no, Tony, he says, she's worth nothing. He says, let's go jump. So I'm there with this mare with crooked legs, and I said to myself, now this is going to go wrong. And from the first day we jumped her, she's brilliant. And now I'm delighted he kept pushing me, you know, because she loves it. And I would say last year she got a bit sickened with Kyprios, the powerhouse he was, and she kept getting sickened race after race. and now she seems back in her comfort zone, and I believe that she's really coming to life again.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Well,
That's
fingers
it.
crossed and best of luck with it. Ruby,
That'd
day
be a
3
great
now.
result, so it would, but I'm going to go for a lot of joy.
A lot of joy. Okay. Lydia?
So Scottish.
That's so Scottish. Okay, perfect. That is day 3 done. Another quick break. Back in a sec.
Why can some horses jump and others can't?
I once heard a stat from a very clever man who is a jumping coach, and he explained it to me that 10% of horses can naturally jump, 10% of horses will never jump, they just can't, and the 80% in the middle can be taught to jump correctly or wrongly.
Hello again. That little clip was from our Not Stupid Questions video. It's one of my personal favourites with Ruby Walsh. Did you enjoy that? Does that annoy you, Ruby, when you get some of the really stupid stuff asked?
No, it wasn't actually, because at least Stephen didn't pretend that he knew it. He was asking questions that he didn't know the answers to.
Okay. Anyone's going to stump you?
I think a few
It was
did,
one of the more PG ones there. There was some
there was a couple
slightly
of
ruder questions. Yeah.
you were kind of having to dance around answers, all right, but look, hey.
Exactly. Okay, well that's on the, make sure you watch the full thing on the Paddy Power Racing YouTube channel, and also subscribe while you're there. I don't know why, producer Mark is mad for subscriptions. He must have a bonus based on the number of people that subscribe to our channel or something. But anyway, we have a viewer question before we start the last day, and that is from Mick, who asked Tony, if Princess Zoe were to win at Cheltenham, I thought I was going to say, what would you do that night? But it's what would be the next step for her?
Well, that would be an intriguing one because, you know, there's always the Ascot Gold Cup there, but Paddy loves jumping, and you know it'd be probably unwise not to go back for the Mayor's Novice in Punchestown or Fairyhouse. And you see, Paddy has said, you know, everyone's talking about when she's going to stud and what. Paddy said, I have no interest in stud until she's finished her racing career. And he says, as long as she can race, I want to stay racing. So that suits me fine.
Yeah, it does. I was going to say, yeah. Okay, we're going to kick off with day 4. Triumph Hurdle is the first race up. Ruby, probably usually at Cheltenham, another race that Willie Mullins seems to dominate the market for. Does he have the key to this race?
Yeah, he looks to have any. Paddy, Blood Destiny, lost him out, Gallimar, so 3 at the top of the market. They've flip-flopped in recent weeks. Blood Destiny has gone into favourite over Lost him out. I suppose he's favoured on potential. If you're going purely on form and what they've achieved, Lost him out should be favourite, I would have said. I thought she was, look, I think Gallimar so did well, everyone does, to beat Lost him out at the Dublin Racing Festival. I thought Danny was brilliant at the last hurdle, and he sorted the race out for himself. And I could see Lost him out turning that form around. I suppose when Blood Destiny was 3-1 last week, DJ, was he?
Yeah, 11-4. Yeah.
11-4. There was probably value in it. Now they've flip-flopped in the betting. I'd probably be siding with Lossiemouth purely from a price point of view.
Riding plans?
I don't know. That'll be Paul's decision, which one he wants to ride. And then Danny will have second choice, you would have thought. So it'll be interesting to see what he does as well.
Yeah, it'd be hard for him to get off Gallimar, so.
You would have thought so.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, maybe this is wrong, I don't know, but this whole plunge seemed to start. I did my very first preview night last Friday week, and David Casey was on the panel, and I came to Triumph Hurdle, and he said Blood Destiny was one of his stronger fancies of the week, and he thinks Paul will ride. And at that stage it was 11-8 and 11-4, and then that, obviously, with social media now.
So I questioned David on this. We were going to a preview last week, and I said, I was reading that, because you wrote it, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I said, and David thinks Paul will ride Blood Destiny. I didn't say that.
Oh,
He says, oh, you did, it's in print here. Never believe what you read. I said I wouldn't be surprised if Paul rides Blood
sorry.
Destiny.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry.
That's what he said from the back of the car. I was thinking, you want to ring David Jennings, because this is what it says here.
So he did say it in a roundabout. I'm a bit scared now.
Relax, it's fine. The sentiment was
there. Did
there.
his solicitor ring you?
Yeah, no.
Everyone's sitting in that room and thought, Jesus, okay, and wrote down exactly as it was.
Yeah, and since then I did one with Paul, and I put this to Paul, and I says, like, which one are you going to ride? David wouldn't be surprised if you were going to ride Blood Destiny, and he obviously didn't give me an answer because I'd say he doesn't know himself yet.
Yeah.
But I got the impression from what he said about both horses that he would ride Lossiemouth. He said she needed to be special to do what she did, to get herself back into the race at Leopardstown after what happened. And I just think maybe Lossiemouth is the horse for now and Blood Destiny is the horse for later. The one thing I do think is that Comfort Zone will finish in the first 3. I think he's a cracking each way price at 12-1. I think Comfort Zone will be second or third, but I think Lossiemouth will win.
Okay, Lydia?
I think there's a lot to happen in this race yet, not least the jockey plans, and that will affect the betting. I think rain would be a negative, I think, for Comfort Zone. I think he'd handle it, but I think it'd be better if the emphasis were more on speed, and I could see him hitting the frame in those circumstances. I'm not completely convinced that Lossiemouth will turn it around with Gallimard, so I can see the argument, absolutely. But the more I look at that race, she got really lit up, Gallimard, for being taken back off heels and round the horse that caused all the trouble, Jour de Fête or whatever it was. And that really lit her up. And I thought that she, up until that point, she was settling a bit better than she had done previously. Whether she settles is the question mark for the Triumph Hurdle over 2 mile 1.
When you're trying to close the gap on somebody else, you usually have to squeeze your own horse up to get him in there. So I'd say Danny lit her up knowing exactly what he was doing.
It's more to do with whether she'll see out the 2 mile 1 on the new course. So as you can hear, I'm sort of slightly up in the air, but at the moment, at those prices, I'm leaning towards Gallimard.
Okay, Gallimard. And Tony, there's got to be a French angle here, right?
Yeah, there's actually another French horse here that Ben Pauling has just bought during the week. And no, this one is pretty simple. I think his name is Jipco, Jipcot, I think. Okay. He's not even entered yet. He's going to be supplemented on Friday.
Okay.
Won a listed hurl in Po a couple of weeks ago. Very impressive. And he's just a very interesting horse. I mean, he's done a lot and he's not in the betting, so now whether he settles in, but I mean, I'd rather a horse only 10 days in a new environment as opposed to a month. I think if it goes outside 10 or 14 days, that they need to be in a yard for maybe
kind
3 or 4 months.
Homesick type of thing.
Yeah.
Rather than on holidays.
And but he can be
some analogy.
Yeah.
Isn't
it? What?
He says he gets homesick after 14 days rather than just being on holidays.
Well, it's a change of food, and yeah, maybe that's the way of putting it. But I mean, certainly, I'd rather a horse with a very short time or a proper amount of time. So
he could be the only British runner in the race if he's going to be supplemented. I don't think there'll be another runner.
Really?
Well, he's a British runner is right, and he's a French horse. But anyway, he's won in France there lately.
Couldn't resist.
But I still say Lossiemouth. Again, I thought Danny rode a brilliant race to enhance Gallimard's profile. I don't think she was a better filly than Lossiemouth on the day. Not saying Paul did anything wrong, I'm just saying that the way Danny was able to close off the thing at the third last changed the result.
Okay.
So it was brilliant for him, but I'd say Lossiemouth is the better horse.
So Lossiemouth. Keep an eye out for Jipco, Ben Pauling's horse that will be supplemented hopefully on Friday, and Gallimard. Perfect. County hurdles next. DJ, I think we should start with you on this one. In case anyone's forgotten, about 45 minutes ago or so, or an hour and a bit ago, DJ put his foot in it royally.
Yeah, I did. I made myself an even bigger fool than I am already. I thought when the conversation about winter fog and came up, my head just went, oh, County Hurdle, when it was actually the Coral Cup. So I apologise. I apologise, okay? So this is the County Hurdle, and this is the race that Sharjah has got a massive chance in. This is the race that I think he'll run in. This is the race I thought I was having a bet with Ruby over a coffee for, because I thought he was going to say Sharjah run the Champion Hurdle, and I was going to say, no, he's going to run the County Hurdle. I think he'll run the County Hurdle. I think he's well handicapped off, mark of 155. I'm a little bit gutted because one of my strongest fancies of the week was Pembroke for Dan Skelton off 136. Loved his run on Trials Day. Just didn't think he got home. I think if there is a bit of cut in the ground, I think he's a massive player, Pembroke. I think he's one of the better handicapped horses of the week, but he's going to bump into Sharjah, who's going to get a fast run race. I think the new course will be fine for Sharjah. Off 155, like he was 167, was he, Ruby, at one stage? Or certainly mid 160s.
Could have been up there, yeah.
Like he's very well handicapped. You know the race is going to be run to suit. It just looks to me like Arctic Fire all over again.
Okay. Ruby?
I'm going to stick with, and I thought he could be in line for the bonus, I'm going to stick with Colonel Mustard. After he's running the Moore Battle, I did give him a shout out last week on the road to Cheltenham, and I think with the benefit of the run in the Moore Battle under his belt, he hadn't run since early or mid-December. Prior to that, I think he could improve enough to win this. Ran a cracker in it last year when he finished third.
Okay, Tony?
I sort of go for the same, but Hunter's Yarn to me is very interesting, but I'm told he's sort of going to go for the Supreme. But if he runs in this Hunter's Yarn, very impressed with him the last day. And I just think Sharjah must be getting old at this stage.
Yeah, to our conversation earlier about Honeysuckle and Epitante maybe going on the way down. Was Sharjah, would you make the same argument?
Yeah, maybe even on the way down, but on the way down, top weight in a handicap.
155.
Yeah, 155. But he was never probably a 165 horse, was he? He was rated it, but did he ever run to it?
Ah, sure, of course he did. How many maths and hurdles did he win?
I'd agree with Tony. You're probably looking at it two different ways. He had a rating against horses. He was running against the conditions races.
He was getting closer.
But did he actually run to it? That's another argument.
Yeah. I see how when a 172 horse wins a race, that your man that's 6 times behind him becomes 165. Yeah. But to me, a rating is his last winning rating. Okay. That to me is the top. You know, so if you have a horse that's second like that, he's thrown up to 165, but maybe I believe he was only a 155 horse ever. That's the way I'm reading
That's a big statement.
Yeah. Well, maybe not ever, but now anyway.
Gin Coco.
Gin Coco. That sounds very confident.
I am. I think he's got the very strong form. I like to move it. Boss, the Great Wood Hurdle, he came from a lot further back. They had to weave through bypassed hurdles. He's been laid out for this. I think he wins.
Okay, so Gin Coco for Lydia. Sharjah for DJ. Would keep an eye on Pembroke if the ground is soft. Yep. Hunter's Yarn, if he runs, could be going Supreme, and Colonel Mustard for Ruby. Right, the Albert Bartlett is next. A race I find very difficult to find the winner of every single year. So hopefully you guys will find it a bit easier, Lydia.
I like Hidden Valley Lake. I went a little bit too soon with him, i.e. before he got beaten last time and he drifted out to 10s, but I thought conceding weight, making his own running up against a very promising stable companion who looked a bit more comfortable going right-handed and whose jumping had improved, I thought it was fine. I think getting a lead, it's the stepping stone race that he used for Henry de Bromhead used for Manila Indo, I think. And I just think the horse is more adaptable, and I think getting a lead in this race I think is deep, by the way. I'm really quite looking forward to it. I think, you know, I can see lots of different angles, but for me, I'm going to stick with Hidden Valley Lake. He looks talented.
Hidden Valley Lake. Ruby, I interrupt you there. You're about to jump in and say something.
I put up Corbett's Cross a long time ago. He's obviously favourite now. Will he run or not is now the question. He's changed ownership as well. He only ran on the 26th of February when he beat Founder 50 at Naas. He's the one to me, but his participation is probably not guaranteed.
Is that because he ran so recently?
Yep.
And that's for a race like this, that's too
no,
short.
I don't know. He's changed ownership as well. It'll depend on how he's come out of the race and how much rain we get. If we don't get that rain, I say there's no chance of him running.
Okay. Tony?
I must be blind anyway or something. That Embassy Gardens, massively impressive to me, beating Notting in Thurles, but he beat them absolutely out of sight. I was massively impressed with him, and I don't seem to be getting the same vibes from all the mouths in Willie's yard. So I don't understand it. He was massively impressive, and his times matched his sectional times. To me, if I could get them to warm up in Willie's and tell me more.
Maybe they're keeping Strum on purpose.
Well, maybe.
The New Year
but I think Embassy Gardens, possibly one of the owners blew me away the whole season in Thurles, beating nothing of this calibre. And I just thought it was very interesting when Barry Connell was interviewed about his horse going for this race, and he says, this is a slow horse's race. He says that my horse was not slow. So I wouldn't agree with that sentiment now, but
he wouldn't mind owning the slow one that wins it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's, as Lydia said, this is a deep race, and there are some serious horses for the future here in this race, and I believe Embassy Gardens is the best of them.
Right, TJ?
I've no doubt that Corbett's Cross will end up being the best of these. You'd love to see him run him, just see what he can do now for Ruby's portfolio on the road to Cheltenham. But I have a feeling he'll skip it, because he is potentially a Gold Cup horse down the line, and maybe it's just too much too soon for him. I think this is a Monkfish latest exhibition, Time Hill, Fury Road, Albert Bartlett. That's how good I think this race is this year. The two I like, if they do get rain and there's soft in the description, I think 3 Car Bragg will go off favourite. I think the new course is made for him. I think he's the strongest stayer, and I think he's relentless. The one I've liked for all season was Sander Clegane. Whether he's quite good enough to win it, I have my doubts now the closer the race is coming. I think he's a very good horse. Sweated up badly before the race at Leopardstown when he was beaten by Goodland. I do think he's a good horse. You'll see a different horse at Cheltenham. Whether he's good enough to win this Albert Bartlett, I'm not sure about Sander Clegane, but if it's soft, I'd be fairly sweet on 3 Car Bragg.
Okay, interesting. 3 Car Bragg, keep an eye on Sander Clegane, Embassy Gardens, Corbett's Cross he runs, and a pretty confident Hidden Valley Lake. Great, okay, brilliant. Gold Cup is next. Just on this one, We are, so I have to give a plug for Shark Power, which is a documentary we're making about Shark Hanlon's horse, which is Hewick, that's running the Gold Cup, won the American Grand National last year. We've had the first couple of episodes. The episode 2 is out this week. The first one's already broadcast, and I'll be hanging out with Shark on Gold Cup Day, if he doesn't ditch me again, to see the reactions there to that race. And we do have an enhancement to celebrate that. Hewick is 4-1 to finish in the first 4 of the Gold Cup. It's a tough place to start the season, but Gold Cup nonetheless. DJ.
I'm actually glad Lydia's on the panel here because I've done a few previews, and I actually think Galloping the Champs will win for starters. I think he's the best horse in the race. I think he's the one horse, if there's an impressive winner like Aplutard last year, I think it's going to be Galloping the Champs. But I do think there is a huge run brewing in Ahoy Senior, and I've said that at preview nights, and I've been ridiculed. Like, there's people literally booing me on stage when I say it, and it's really strange. So I was delighted when Lydia was on the panel because this is my theory with Ahoy Senior. He's a different horse after Christmas. And I think we didn't see even remotely the real Ahoy Senior in the Cotswold Chase. I thought loads went wrong, and he still won. And I think the first 6 fences in the Gold Cup are massive for Ahoy Senior. I think if he gets into a rhythm, and I know it's the same with every horse, if they get into a rhythm, and it's a massive if. I think if he gets into a rhythm in the first 6 fences,
he'll go from the front, right?
Well, he'd be up there. He didn't make the running in the Cotswold Chase because, you know, he was kind of held back, and then he kind of made his ground. But I think he's the one horse in the race who's really dangerous for Galloping the Champs, because I think natural ability-wise, someday, like at Aintree last season, he's going to put it all together and he's going to produce a huge performance. I think this course is tailor-made for him. I just think at the prices he's the one, I'm going to myself, oh, he's too big of a price because he's too talented to be that price. I'm glad I'm not going to get booed here because Lydia's on the panel. So I'm interested to hear her views now on the race because I've heard her views before.
So you'd be thinking like Galloping the Champ, yes, you could totally see Galloping the Champ destroy
I think
them
he'll
all,
win, yeah.
But Ahoy Senior could be one.
I just think he's so dangerous.
Back him without.
Yeah, absolutely. He could be the way to go. He's just a horse. I've obviously had a soft spot for over the years, as Lydia has, but what's your thoughts on him now?
He's totally stealing your thunder here. We don't bother coming to Lydia because we know what she's going to say.
I backed 2 horses at the end of last season for the Gold Cup, and they were Galloping de Chauvin and Hoy Senior. I think, as David says, the track is ideal for him. There aren't many situations in an entire season that actually suit a Hoy Senior, and this is one of them. He is going to have to be, he's a bit of a klutz. He still hasn't quite learned how to put his ability and his frame and his legs and everything all together at every single fence. So your heart will be in your mouth all the way around. But I think he has the ability to run a huge race here. I agree with that. But I'm a massive Galloping de Chauvin fan. I just think he's got a huge amount of ability. And I'm interested that they have managed to keep his ability whilst sort of calming him down, curbing his enthusiasm a little bit and making him look less reckless. And I think that he looked better being exuberant over shorter distance, but this season he now shapes as though he's the kind of horse who can put it together. I have no stamina concerns in short. Yeah, I think he's the likeliest winner, but I do think Ahoy Senior will run huge. The nearer I get to the race, the more I start thinking that Brave Man's Game is going to... I mean, if we're talking about the strongest form this season, he has it. The winning the King George. Absolutely. The question mark for him is about the track, and you know we've got very small amount of evidence on that, so it's hard to be completely dogmatic about it. It's just I'm interested in how easy he seems to be in a rhythm on a flat track.
Okay, and Aplutard doesn't get a mention. Aplutard practically lapped them last year, Tony. I mean, one of the most impressive Gold Cup winners you'll see. Yeah. And is it just too hard to come back after his disappointing start to the season, or would you say Henry's horses were a bit flat at that? I don't know if they were. All the horses who went to England ran crap, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, his Haydock run, you know, I mean, it's a big hill to climb after that. I mean, if you get well beat, but when you pull up like that, and, you know, it's... I don't fancy him for that reason. Very classy horse. But Brave Man's Game, I know that the Nichols camp really think he's working well, and they're really, you know, Paul Nichols is starting to talk about this horse in the Cato Star sort of league. I don't believe that, but I'd say that he's a very good horse and a formidable opponent. But Galloping de Champs does everything right, and I was massively impressed with him, the way he galloped to the line. The last 100 yards in Leopardstown, I thought, was massively impressive, you know. And as Lydia said, he was very exuberant last year, and I said this will never settle to a Gold Cup. Then he comes out this year, and Paul is able to drop him in and lob away, jump fences, quicken when he wanted, and won. So he's a genuine favourite. That being boring again, but I think the favourite wins.
We're going to have to have sympathy for Brave Man's Game. This time last year, Paul was comparing him to Denman. Now he's comparing him to Cortez. I mean, the poor guy.
Yeah.
I read that article though, and all he said about that was he was the best horse he's had since.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Which means he's better
than Denman.
Slivian Conti. Cauto lasted longer than Denman.
Yeah.
So since Cauto Star, that's literally what that statement means.
Right,
if you think about it.
Okay.
Well, I don't believe it, but I am saying that they're believing that he's a formidable opponent. They think they have a serious winning chance.
I didn't think it until I watched him in the King George, and I would tend to agree with him. The further he went in the King George, the more he impressed me. I don't worry about the track. He said one run in Cheltenham, was it? Yeah. In the Ballymore, he was placed behind Bob Bollinger. I think he's a much better horse now. He's gone one way and Bob Bollinger's gone the other. So, like, I'd say he is a big runner. There's no doubt about it. If you're giving me the choice which one would I ride, I would ride Galloping the Champ all day, every day. I think he's tailor-made for it, and I think he will win. I hope he wins. As for a stayer coming at them, you're going to have Aplutar, Brave Man's Game, Galloping the Champ, the classy ones. But as always happens in Gold Cups, a stayer will get involved. I thought that would be native Noble Yates all year, and I still think it'll be Noble Yates. He gave a high senior £3 in the Cotswold Chase. He wasn't knocked about. Cheap pieces are going back on. I think he'll turn the form at a high senior, and I think he'll get in the money.
Okay, but Galloping the Champ, pretty confident.
And I'd say Hewick has it all to do. He's unbelievable. He's won the 3 races last summer and probably would have won the Kerry National, but moving out of handicap company into a Gold Cup is a different thing. Now, he's a fantastic horse.
He's tiny.
And he's not a big horse.
I don't know much about horses, but you go down and see him, he's tiny.
Yeah, he's not impressive to look at. But by God, I tell you one thing, you'd go and try and pass him in those handicaps. And he did it with 12 stone and all. Like, he's done some great things, but it's a different league.
Yeah. Okay, Grant. Wrap up those. Galloping the Champ, won't take long. Galloping the Champ, and keep an eye on a high senior. And run into a place, Noble Yates. Yeah, okay, perfect.
Some value 66s.
Yeah.
And there's no French horse.
No French horse like that.
Maybe put him up on Red Cheltenham at 66 to 1.
There you go.
There's also an anti-post show called Up in the Ante.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Perfect, yeah. The Hunter's Chase, any strong views here?
David Christie.
Yeah. Okay.
He holds all the aces, not like Vaucelet, Ferns Lock, Wing Leader. I don't know which one's going to run, but David Christie holds all the aces. Billaway, to me, has looked a year older this year, which he is, and he struggled last year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think all season he said Vaucelet. I think I've no doubt that the best of David Christie's is Ferns Lock. I think he could be very, very good, but I think he wanted to mind him and maybe this year too soon for him in the Hunter's Chase at Cheltenham. Vaucelet seems to be the one. Probably would have beaten Billaway if he didn't make the mistake at the last at Punchestown. Seems to have been trained for the race all year. Was good, workmanlike, but good at Down Royal. Look, he's been no price all season. Like, he'd probably be that price on the day as well, but I do think Vaucelet is probably the most likely winner.
Tony, any?
Not really, no. I just thought Billaway wasn't impressive enough, but I don't know enough about the collateral form in these Hunter's Chases. Like, it's a completely different
sport.
Sphere.
So, you know, I haven't a strong enough opinion.
No, not a Scooby-Doo.
Take the 5th.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, Grant. Okay, perfect. The Mrs. Paddy Power Mares Chase is next at 4:50. And who wants to go first, Lydia?
I think Allegory Devassi is very, very talented indeed, but I'm really worried about the extent to which she jumps right. I think this could be Mount Ida all over again, albeit I think she's more talented than Mount Ida. I can't have her for that reason. Impervious, I don't know. I know Ellie May isn't that big, but I just worry about Impervious, particularly if the rain doesn't come. I can see Jeremy's Flame. I think she seems to be very solid. She kicked a load of British horses out of the way, and Zambella seemed to be improved this season. And how about Ellie May? I mean, Ellie May seems to be a very big price for a horse that's finished second in this race and won this race.
She is, and it would improve a lot for a run in Naas, but I did think it was very interesting reading comments from different trainers. And Gordon Elliott gave Riviera the Tell a big mention this week.
But she goes right too.
She's 14 to 1. He said that she had issues with her back. She's had work done on it, and he is quite bullish about her. I mean, you look back at her form, which involves Fernie Hollow, Blue Lord last year. I just think at 2.5, she's only a 6-year-old. If you're looking for value, I think she sticks out to me at 14s.
She does. Stamina is the big worry. I just worry about getting home in the new course over that trip, but she's too big of a price. She won't go off that price. I'm like, obviously, Allegory Devassi, the big worry is this jumping out to the right. She did it in France. She's done it, obviously, last time. Like, is she going to be an Exterior Phalange in the Supreme? Is it going to be that bad? I'm hoping it's not, because natural ability wise, I think she's a beast. I really do. I think she's really good. I think she has the potential, as I said before, to win this race a couple of times. It's just that chink, which is a massive chink. But maybe it's factored into the price as well. Like, I think she's that good that if she didn't have that chink, she'd be odds on.
You think she'd be shorter? She should be shorter.
I do, yeah. I think if she didn't have, I think that's why she's that price. It's Willie Mullins. It's a horse that basically hasn't come off the bridle over fences. It's a horse that's beat Brandy Love over hurdles. Like, we have absolutely no idea how good Allegory Devassi is. She's a big, imposing mare as well. I love her.
What price could she be if Lassie Mount, Embassy Gardens, Galloping the Champ have all won, and Billaway? What price would she end
Well,
up?
if the Willie Mullins dominance, or it's on that day, she'd go as short as you like. I mean,
Ruby, on a
all the
scale of 1
jollies
to
are in
10,
there.
how worried should I be about this jumping out to the right? Is it a 5 or is it a 10?
10 being most worried, I take
Yes.
it. Yeah.
10
being
most
petrified
worried.
and
I'd say
just
if you watched her in
cash out.
Thurles, you're somewhere between 7 and 9. I didn't think she was as bad the first day at Limerick. It was only late in the race. So if she reverts to the way she was in Limerick, won't be too bad. She thinks she was in Thurles, won't be great.
You're not filling me with confidence here.
This time last year, wasn't Good Elliot saying that Mount Ida had an operation on her back and that all would be fine for
I can
the
barely
mare's
remember what's
chase?
happened to Willie Mullins' horses, let alone Gordon Elliott's.
I think that's right. Anyway,
Tony.
Just saying.
Yeah, Ruby stole my thunder there with Riviere de Tell. I just thought that she's value, and I don't like backing a favourite that has noted problems. So she's obviously a very good filly, very good mare, but you know, it's hard enough to back them when they've no problems without backing them when they have problems.
Okay, so Riviere de Tell twice, Ellie May, sneaky each way,
I
maybe.
think so, yeah.
And Ruby's gone for the favourite Allegory
Devassi for me.
Devassi, yeah, for DJ. Okay, perfect. The lucky last now, the Martin Pipe, and this is we talked earlier, Tony, about like seeing a horse for the future. There's often something lurking here, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I just don't know any of them. You know, 3-car brag to me is, and this is
Doesn't run here.
Doesn't run here.
No.
Runs the upper part.
Yeah, well then, you know, I mean, there's a host of but for a race like this, to me, is picking jockeys.
Yeah.
That jockey is a serious, you know, when you have Nico de Boinville and Danny Mullins, Paul Townend, all them, there's very little between them. In this race,
there could be a huge gap between the amateurs.
Huge gap. And
so you're looking for Jamie Codd and
no, this is
it's a claimer.
Conditional, sorry, yeah,
conditional. You know, so these are young riders that you don't know much about. You know, like when Jack Kennedy and Luke Dempsey and them rode, they were serious advantage, the rides they gave them horses. So I would be looking as much here at the rider as actually the horse's form.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can get a young lad on his way up, if he's on a decent horse, that's a big advantage.
On that, look, I've spent the last 2 seasons saying that I thought Might Eye was one of the best handicapped horses in training. He hasn't won a race since Newton Abbott, which is a bit worrying. But the key thing with Might Eye is Lorcan Murtha is going to be riding him, and he always rides the horse. So he knows the horse inside out. And you have a lot of riders in this race riding horses for the first time. They might be very good jockeys, but they don't know the horse inside out. And I think Lorcan Murtha for Might Eye is a big bonus. With Might Eye, he's ran on the new course at the trials meeting, should have won. Now, he should have won. He really should have won that day. It was 2 mile 1. He had every chance to go by. The horse in front of Paul Nichols has drifted out to the middle of the course.
I feel this is painful, yeah.
He followed him, and I was like, just go by, Might Eye, just go
zone,
by. And he wouldn't listen to me as much as I shouted at the screen. But he's got in now off 145, okay, which is obviously the ceiling rating to get into this race. Lorcan knows the horse. He was second to 3-Stripe Life at Aintree in the race that Walking on Air won. He's a half-brother to Statler, so the step up and trip should suit. Look, I tipped him up in the ante for the Stayers Hurdle at the start of the season. If I thought he could win the Stayers Hurdle at the start of the season, he'd want to be winning the Martin Pipe off 145. Maybe it's just because I love the horse and people are going to be shouting at the screens, but I do think Might Eye is going to have a massive chance. No, he has won a race, but he won at Newton Abbott and he was a good bumper horse. He's a very good horse when things come together.
Okay, stop talking. It's fine, thank you. Lydia.
Looking, please listen to David. I hate to finish on a low, but I don't have a strong view on this. This is again for me a Dex race. I have to see the declarations to see what's going on. I mean, I'm interested in where Langer Dan is going to end up, because obviously this has been the plot. Is it the Coral Cup every year? I mean, obviously second to Galopin de Champs 2 seasons ago in this, brought down at the first at this race last year. But I mean, he looks as though he's being primed for a good run at the festival. So if he wins the Coral Cup or here, he'd be quite interesting. But I want to have a look at the Dex.
Okay, Ruby.
Obviously, I was 3-car brag all the way. Willia, Spanish Harlem and Hauturier, but I think Bella Scintilla of Justice O'Brien's could be nicely in off 133. She's 33 to 1. She'll have to get in. She's 49 on the ballot, but no bet. She'd probably appeal to me now.
Okay, Bella Scintilla and Might Eye, the 2 selections for the lucky last race, the Martin Pipe. Okay, Friday naps, we're nearly there. David.
Allegory de Vassy.
Okay, just the hardest one to write down, thanks.
Yeah.
Allegory de Vassy, yeah. Tony, or do you want to come back to you? Galloping de Champ all day. Okay. Ruby.
I'm going to doubling up with Tony here.
Galloping de Champ and Lydia.
Gin Coco.
Gin Coco, nice one, which is exactly what we deserve now, a gin and a cocoa, right. Okay, Gin Coco, perfect. That's it, 28 races covered, well done. I've final reminders to the viewers to subscribe into the Paddy Power Racing YouTube channel so you don't miss the quiz and the rewind shows coming along this week, among others. The offer, don't forget, today we announced our big Cheltenham offer, which was our online customers get a free bet for each of the first 3 days of the festival. So free bet for the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I can't believe I have to read that out because people know that the first 3 days of the festival are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I would think. But you can use them in any race. And the first of these will be available to claim this day next week. That's Monday the 13th, also known as Cheltenham Eve. The fan zones, get your tickets. I mentioned them earlier for our Cheltenham fan zone. There's one in Dublin, one in Galway, and one in London. It's on the Friday of the festival, which is also St. Patrick's Day, and it's deadly bit of crack. Finders Keepers is back on Monday and Tuesday as part of the Good Morning Cheltenham show with DJ. It's at 8:30 a.m. on Racing Post and Paddy Power social channels with 150 grand, just 150 grand, been randomly put into people's accounts. And responsible gambling. Finally, and most importantly, if you are having a bet next week, or indeed any week, please do so responsibly. Thanks for watching, and thanks to the esteemed members of our panel, and I hope everybody enjoys Cheltenham. Be lucky.